Pano is data for life.
What do you mean?
He is data ready.
Oh, yeah.
I think. Boleh call?
Boleh.
Your video call.
Kod nanti.
Your live.
Kod nanti.
Connect.
Yelah tu. Yelah tu. Kembali ke FTV Sembang Kereta episod ke-35. Jadi sejak 2 menjak ni bila kerajaan mengumumkan cukai hari tu zero tax, ada dengar suara tak? Suara okey ke tak? Buatlah dalam kereta je sebab hari ni kita outstation kat atas jalan baik. So tengah tengok ni line ni okey ke tidak? So kalau kawan-kawan beritahu lah kalau line horror ke tidak, nampak kat sini tulis 4G. So nampak macam okey je. Suara okey tak ni? Suara dengar? Ke aku cakap seorang-seorang? Dengar tak suara? Okey kan? Suara dengar okey? Alright, okey. So sejak 2 menjak bila government umum zero tax ni, saya pun sembang-sembang lah dengan kawan-kawan dalam industri kereta. Dan hakikatnya lah ialah syarikat-syarikat yang menjadi pengedar ni memang sebenarnya ada tergerak lah nak bawa masuk kereta-kereta elektrik yang ada tu. So, kita dah tahu Hyundai kata nak bawa masuk Ioniq 5, Kona EV nak bawa masuk, Kia pun kita sembang-sembang bisik-bisik dia kata ada kemungkinan besar EV6 tu masuk. Jadi banyak kereta elektrik yang dia nak bawa masuk ni sebenarnya ada masalah bekalan sebab permintaan tinggi. Ioniq 5 dengan Kia EV6 memang permintaan tinggi. So mungkin terpaksa tunggu sikit. Dan Jaguar pun nak bawa masuk dia dengan I-Pace. So okey. BMW memang dah masuk kereta-kereta elektrik dia lah yang ada. Volkswagen menyepi. Saya dah tanya berkali-kali pun dia masih belum boleh bagi jawapan yang kukuh. Mercedes-Benz tak nak komen lagi. Saya dah tanya dah. Company-company lain yang tak boleh disebut nama kata dia orang memang dah ada perancangan. Tapi untuk model pertama yang bawa masuk tu mungkin harga kayangan sikit lah. Walaupun dia orang bercadang merancang untuk membawa masuk model-model yang mampu milik dalam masa mungkin kalau tak tahun depan pun tahun lagi satu lah 2023 mungkin. Dan ada setengah pula memikirkan sama ada bila dia bawa masuk tu nanti macam mana pasal takut pelanggan nanti tak ada tempat charging pula. So dia orang pun tengah bergelut juga ni macam mana nak pastikan kalau dia orang start jual sekurang-kurangnya adalah tempat untuk mengecharge tu pasal barulah senang sikit nak jual. So ramailah lu cuba memikirkan macam mana nak buat, sama ada nak buat konsortium ke, sama ada nak macam mana ke. Sekarang yang ada beberapa syarikat lah yang nak membuat charging network ni. Ada yang charge EV, ada yang dengan syarikat minyak, ada yang dengan syarikat jenama kereta, dan ada juga yang perkhemah punya lah yang paling ambitious kita tengok iaitu 1000 charger menjelang 2025. So itu yang paling ambitious sekali lah untuk perkhemah tu. Tapi ramai juga yang kata benda ni akan lambat lagi sebab jenama tempatan belum ada lagi kereta-kereta elektrik yang boleh bawa masuk. Maksudnya kereta elektrik mampu milik lah. Dan dia orang kata kerajaan akan cuba lindungi lah industri kereta tempatan. Maksudnya lindungi jenama tempatan lah. Jadi saya kata memanglah kerajaan akan cuba untuk lindungi jenama tempatan. Itu betul lah. Memang mana-mana pun semua tengah cuba nak mikirkan cara macam mana nak lindungi jenama tempatan daripada serangan. Tapi masalahnya kali ini bukan serangan. Ini bukan serangan kali ini. Jadi kita tak boleh nak cakap bahawa gelombang elektrik ni ialah serangan daripada luar. Pasal dia bukan serangan daripada luar. Kita tak boleh nak kata ini ialah daripada China. Tak, bukan. Kita tak boleh kata ini daripada Jepun. Tak, bukan. Kita nak kata ini daripada Korea. Bukan. Ini ialah satu anjakan teknologi. Dia kalau kita bayangkan daripada zaman kuda nak masuk ke zaman kereta ICE dulu. Memang tak logik lah kalau dia boleh lindungi syarikat kereta kuda. Sebab orang akan nak kereta yang ada gunakan enjin. Sama macam sebelum tu, iaitu di mana sebelum adanya enjin wap, semua kilang-kilang besar kena berada di mana? Semua kilang-kilang besar menggunakan apa? Kincir air. Jadi kalau you nak buka kilang besar, kilang you kena ada di tepi sungai yang besar. Dan sungai itu akan membekalkan air ataupun tenaga untuk menggerakkan kincir. Jadi terhadlah nak buka kilang mesti tepi sungai. Bila dah ada enjin steam, sungai pun dah tak laku dah. Dah tak boleh nak lindungi dah. Orang buat kincir air ni semua tak laku dah. Orang cakap macam mana pun orang tak nak. Orang nak beralih ke steam. Sama macam kereta kuda, cerita macam mana sedap pun kereta kuda tu kan, orang tak nak. Orang nak beralih ke kereta ICE. Jadi sekarang ni pun berlaku apa yang berlaku sekarang ialah anjakan teknologi. Dia bukan serangan. Jadi bila kita sebut anjakan teknologi ni, maksudnya bukan kalau kata kita bayangkan industri otomotif ni ialah sebagai satu tasik. Dan setiap syarikat yang ada tu ialah kapal dalam tasik tersebut. Kapal perang lah, kita nak defend dia ke, kita ni flotilla. Tapi ini bukannya ada kapal lain masuk. Air tu tengah naik. So sama ada you berubah dan lepaskan sauh you dan ikut air tu naik, ataupun you kekal dengan sauh you dan pacak kapal itu dekat situ, ketinggian yang sama, air itu naik, kapal itu tenggelam. Itu yang sedang berlaku sekarang. Jadi saya tak kira pihak kerajaan boleh melindungi industri otomotif tempatan. Tidak ada satu kerajaan pun dalam dunia ni yang boleh melindungi industri otomotifnya. Tak ada. Dia sama macam anjakan kita daripada valve. Radio, barang-barang elektrik awal kita menggunakan valve sebagai diode. Ni kita kena ingatlah valve. So sekarang ni ada juga lagi orang masih buat amplifier pakai valve. Kononnya warmer sound, whatever. Tapi kebanyakan orang tak pakai dah glass valve. Kenapa? Pasal dia ada solid state valves. Diode, transistor semua pakai solid state. Anjakan tu berlaku, boleh lindungi ke? Tak boleh lindungi. Pasal ini ialah anjakan teknologi. Ini bukan serangan daripada syarikat buat diode. Solid state bukan. Ini bukan serangan daripada Tesla, bukan. Ini bukan serangan daripada NIO, bukan. Bukan serangan daripada Volkswagen, Hyundai, bukan. Ini ialah anjakan teknologi. Jadi sudah sekian lama kita bergantung kepada teknologi pembakaran dalaman ataupun internal combustion engine. Jadi sepanjang yang kita menggunakan teknologi pembakaran ni, kita dah berjaya membangunkan teknologi lah sampai begitu canggih sekali, sampai pemahaman kita untuk teknologi ni dah begitu tinggi. Maksudnya kalau kita tengok sekarang enjin yang ada, kita boleh menghasilkan enjin yang menjana sometimes sampai 200 lebih horsepower per liter. Road car, production engines. Macam C43 AMG, 43 punya series untuk Mercedes-Benz AMG. Dia punya power output dia macam 4.5 liters. From a car, engine dia 2 liter turbo. So kalau kata you tengok 20 tahun dulu lah, tahun 1990, tak masuk akal benda tu. Tak masuk akal. Masa tahun 80-an sampai 90-an, kereta atas jalan, kalau kata you guna high pressure turbo sekali pun lah, ini untuk memang high performance punya car, yang memang guna high pressure turbo, you mungkin dia punya power output tu maybe dalam 160, maybe. Horsepower per liter. Itu dah kira terror lah. Itu dah kira enjin nak pecah lah tu. Itu enjin memang kena jaga cantik-cantik punya lah. Kalau kau miss service ke apa ke, rosak sikit benda memang ranak tu lah enjin tu. Yang dia punya tak tahan yang benda tu masa tu. Tapi sekarang Mercedes-Benz boleh buat production engine that produces 400 plus horsepower from 2 liters. Tak ada turbo lag. Very little turbo. You bawa C43 AMG ke A, tak ada almost no turbo. E43 ke that 4.3 liter 43 punya engine tu AMG tu, no turbo lag. And enjin tu dia punya umur hayat dia masih lagi sama macam enjin Mercedes-Benz biasa. Kalau biasalah enjin Mercedes-Benz yang NA tu hayat dia tahan 1 juta kilometer sebelum kena overhaul. Yang ini mungkin tahan 800,000. Mungkin 750,000 kilometer. 750,000 kilometer tu dekat 30 tahun cerita nak pakai lah. Tak sampai lah cerita dia. Kalau dia sampai, dia tahan 500,000 kilometer pun sekalipun, itu kiranya kalau 25,000 kilometer, kita bawa setahun 20,000 cerita. 20 tahun cerita baru nak kena overhaul. So kita punya pemahaman ICE tu dah sampai tahap di mana kita dah sukar sangat-sangat nak memperbaikinya. Dan kita tahu dah makin sukar untuk kita nak memperbaikinya kerana sekarang dia nak perkenalkan peraturan paling tinggi lah, paling baru untuk pencemaran ni Euro 7. Jadi semua orang cakap Euro 7 ni almost impossible nak match. Kecuali nak kena belanja gila babi punya banyak to get the small amount of improvement. Kita dah sampai to the point, maybe kita dah ada extract maybe 95-96% of the potential of ICE. Dari segi thermal efficiency, kita dah tak boleh nak dapat menggunakan normal auto cycle. Kita dah nak start kena guna Atkinson cycle dah. Bila kita cerita Atkinson cycle, kita menipu sikit lah. Maksudnya kita allow the compression stroke to actually be slightly shorter than the expansion stroke, the power stroke, by playing with valves. Ataupun, something like that. So, at the end of the day, untuk kita capai thermal efficiency, macam Toyota punya engine dynamic force, macam Mazda punya Skyactiv, macam Honda punya Earth Dreams, macam Volkswagen punya TSI, dia orang ada macam-macam nama cycle lah. Volkswagen pakai Budak cycle nama je. Tapi the idea is still the same. It's still playing variation in terms of compression and power stroke. So you bezakan macam tu. So when you do that, and that means you have slightly more work being done for the same amount of air and fuel yang you masukkan dalam engine. Because kita kena maintain stoichiometric and all that lah. So you get slightly more power. But because of that, then the air density dia kurang lah. There's slightly more work, but the power density kurang. So you get slightly more work done by the engine. Therefore, you increase the thermal efficiency. Tapi engine tu dia punya power density dia kurang sikit. So kita dah sampai tahap di mana engine ICE itu sangat-sangat sukar untuk kita perbaiki. That's why kalau kita tengok, walaupun Toyota sekalipun, walaupun BMW sekalipun, ke Honda, ke Mazda sekalipun, dia orang dah terpaksa gunakan hybrid untuk mencapai tahap pencemaran yang ditetapkan. Sebab kalau nak gunakan enjin tu semata-mata tak boleh dah. Tak usah Mercedes-Benz punya kereta yang besar-besar, Volvo punya yang powerful, semua mesti ada hybrid system. Bantu dia. Mesti ada elektrik motor nak bantu capai performance tu. Kerana menggunakan ICE semata-mata dah tak boleh nak mencapai dah tahap performance yang kita nak without breaking some pollution rule somewhere. Peraturan pencemaran somewhere. So itu menunjukkan memang sebenarnya teknologi ICE dah sampai had dia lah. Dia sama macam bila engine warp. Jadi engine warp ni pada mulanya digunakan dalam kilang. So yang James Watt buat tu digunakan dalam kilang. Tapi engine James Watt tu dia low speed engines. Bila Robert Louis Stevenson pasangkan engine warp kat kereta api, itu dah jadi high speed steam engines. Bila nak capai high speed steam engine tu, itu the pinnacle of steam engines. Bila kereta api warp yang paling laju 100 batu sejam, 120 batu sejam, boleh constant speed daripada London pergi Scotland, pergi Edinburgh, itu the pinnacle of the steam power. Tahun 50-an, pinnacle of steam power. Kalau you tengok dekat US, Union Pacific Big Boy. Saya nak masuk cepat. Union Pacific punya Big Boy 4884 tak silap saya, dia punya wheel set dengan arrangement lah 48, if I'm not mistaken lah. So anyway, itu the pinnacle. Jadi bila masuk tahun 50-an 40-an tu dah mula dah dia orang start design diesel elektrik lokomotif. Sebelum tu diesel hidrolik. Diesel hidrolik banyak guna dekat yard lah untuk shunting. Tapi untuk mainline banyak dia orang buat diesel elektrik. So diesel elektrik punya lokomotif masa awal-awal tu memang nampak macam tak sebagus steam engine. Ni especially benda tu nampak obvious dekat US lah. Because dia orang negeri besar dan dia orang punya railway line tu beribu-ribu kilometer. Bayangkan daripada New York pergi LA berapa ribu kilometer kan. And dia akan lalu bukit dan macam-macam, gunung ganang, nak panjat Rocky Mountain semua tu. So bila dia nak panjat Rocky Mountain tu selalunya diesel elektrik tak boleh lepas. Dia akan ada steam engine tolak sebagai pusher untuk lepaskan. Pasal masa awal-awal tu teknologi tu tak cukup bagus. Tapi walaupun masa awal-awal tu teknologi tu tak cukup bagus, semua orang dah nampak this is a technology shift. So semua orang kata, yalah memang they'll try to defend the steam engine, buat lagi, improve. Tapi penyudahnya tak boleh nak lawan. Sebab at the end of the day, the teknologi dah sampai masa dia dah matang dah, dia tak boleh nak tahan dia dah. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped. Ini kita kena fahamkanlah ini yang sedang berlaku sekarang. So it's not about invasion. Ini bukan kita cerita serangan. Therefore kerajaan dah tak boleh nak defend. Dia tak boleh nak defend. That's why pada saya the current move 0,000 tax tu, 0% import tax, 0% excess duty, 0% road tax. Ada yang kata 0% sales tax, tapi kata tak, 5% aja sales tax. Ini semua ialah sebenarnya satu langkah genius juga daripada kerajaan. Maksudnya sekarang dia dah buka pintu selapang-lapangnya. Seluas-luasnya dia dah buka pintu untuk industri memikirkan cara macam mana nak uruskan diri dia orang sendiri. Macam mana industri nak menguruskan dia punya anjakan. Sebab kerajaan tak tahu. Kerajaan tak boleh nak beritahu dia orang macam mana nak buat benda ni. Hanya orang dalam industri sahaja yang faham masalah dia orang dan faham kedudukan dia orang dan faham apa yang berlaku. Now they can behave like ostrich yang tutup mata. Tak mau tengok. Ni semua tak betul, not real. This is all not real. I don't want to accept electric cars. You can do that. But you akan tahulah apa akan jadi. Or you can sit there and tengok the world as it is, not as how you want it to be. So kalau dia orang duduk dan dia orang tengok, dia orang akan nampak. But this is a technology shift. The years and years of everybody campaigning about global warming, about the environment, has pushed many companies atau many startup to develop these technologies. Electric drive. Electric drive ni dah lama memang dah lama dah. Kita masa awal kereta dicipta dulu pun dah ada orang buat electric drive. Tapi cuma masa tu teknologi bateri tak ada. Belum dapat lagi dia punya resepi dia. So tak apa. But kita tengok bila dah lama kena push cerita global warming. Jadi semua orang pun fikir macam mana nak buat ni. Ada yang China, apa yang berlaku bila cerita global warming, nak reducekan pollution, apa China buat? In the 1990s, when the World Trade Organization mula menjadi satu pengaruh yang besar dalam perdagangan dunia, antara syarat-syarat yang ditetapkan ialah kena ada tanggungjawab terhadap alam sekitar. That means kayu balak, kalau digondolkan hutan tanpa sebarang gantian, that means you're not replanting the forest, tak boleh masuk. Kita fahamlah ada dia punya pintu belakang apa semua bagi guna Singapura untuk balak daripada Indonesia, so dapat sebab beranak baru, therefore boleh lulus, macam-macam lah dia orang tipu. Tapi kiranya basically all that drumming in lah, dia punya campaign tu membuatkan ramai orang makin tengok masalah tu dan berasa macam betul juga, kalau kita buat teknologi yang lebih bersih, mungkin masa awal-awal ni mahal sikit, tetapi in the long run bumi kita lebih bersih. Pasal at the end of the day, siapa nak hidup dekat bandar atau pekan yang penuh dengan asap? Betul tak? Jadi bila WTO cakap, okay, you nak export barang-barang ke Europe, ke US, ke mana, ke pasar-pasar yang dia orang kontrol lah. WTO ni basically is the rich countries telling the poor countries what to do. So when they tell the poor countries, the developing nations, kata, you kena. Tak boleh ni. Kalau negeri you pollution level tinggi, nanti kita kena slap you on extra tax. So, one of the things yang China buat, dia akan risau lah pasal China is the factory of the world. Almost everything that kita pakai made in China. Kalau tak semua pun sebahagian. So hari ni sebagai contoh ni, saya nak tunjuk sebagai contoh. Hari ni saya bawa kereta JMC Vigo Pro. Saya tunjuk satu benda kejap. Saya turun dengan kamera kejap, saya tunjuk.
Nampak tak kepala gear tu? Nampak kepala gear?
Kepala gear tu, kan? Kalau kau tenung betul-betul, kepala gear ni sama macam Peugeot pakai. Untuk dia punya 3008 dengan 5008. Kalau tak sebiji pun, 95%. Sama mereka bentuk macam ni. Datang dari mana? Dari China. So China makes almost everything. Jadi China takut lah. Kalau dia orang punya barang-barang tak boleh ekspor, dan dia orang kena tarif yang tinggi disebabkan kilang-kilang dia orang kotor, they need to do something about it. Jadi what did China do? So in the 1990s, China tengok masalah ni, dan dia orang ni, China ni, dia punya nasib dia lah. Ialah masa zaman 1990-an tu, dia punya infrastructure dia masih lagi, I think about 20-30 years behind everybody else. So they're looking at 1960s, 1970s punya level of infrastructure dari segi dia punya electricity, macam-macam lah. That's why kotor tau, negara dia, asap, kilang semua keluar, banyak asap, memang tak ada regulation, how to regulate the pollution. Sampai kalau you tengok gambar dari China tu, memang there's always a yellow fog hanging in the air. Bila you tengok yellow fog tu, tahu lah this is smog. Smog means smoke and fog bergabung, dia panggil smog. Dan smog ni dia susah nak clear pasal dia tiap hari produce. Kalau fog tu lain, fog ialah wap air. Bila matahari dah naik, dia hilang. Bila smog dia tak boleh pasal dia asap. Dia duduk je. Dan masalah ni berkekalan sampai baru-baru ni. Tapi dia punya ambil langkah dari tahun 1990-an. What did they do in the 1990s? What they did was they bought a lot of capital goods untuk buat solar panel. So negara yang sampai sekarang negara yang pandai buat capital goods ialah Germany. Susah nak lawan Germany. Amerika Syarikat used to be a very strong powerhouse. I think they're still quite good lah. So Germany is one of the countries yang memang terror buat capital goods. Capital goods ni maksudnya the machine that makes the machine. So for example, when we first saw flat screen TV, masa tu LCD ke? Before that was, then after that it was plasma, and then it was LED kan. So masa mula-mula tu, nak buat flat screen TV tu, ialah memang Sony buat, Samsung buat, tapi the machine that makes the flat screen TV beli kat mana? Beli pada Germany. Siemens ke buat ke, tak tahulah, ThyssenKrupp ke, one of those big German punya industrial conglomerate, dia orang fokus dia buat benda tu. So Germany dah move away. Germany moved away because the Europeans, they move away. They move up. So the way you move up is first, you jadi sweatshop. Then you start building slightly more expensive things. And then you build capital goods lah. Because the capital goods yang paling susah sekali. When you have in full control of your capital goods production, then siapa pun tak boleh sentuh you. In the 1900s, in the 1800s and 1900s, Amerika tak boleh nak sentuh dia. Kenapa? Sebab dia boleh buat semua capital goods. You cakap apa nak buat, semua dia boleh buat sendiri. Dia tak payah cari kat orang lain. You nak buat kereta, dia ada foundry, dia ada steel making, dia ada glass making, dia ada, semua dia ada. You nak buat rocket, dia ada the highest level of metallurgy. You nak use exotic material, semua dia boleh buat. You nak buat komputer, siapa yang buat tu? Dia buat, semua dia boleh buat. Solid state technology untuk electronics, dia boleh buat. Computer coding, dia boleh buat. Now we're talking about algorithms kan. Algorithm semua you buat algoritma tu. Kalau you nak jual benda tu kat US, you kena register your algorithm dengan dia orang. So they have backdoor to everything. So that's how the US was. Then the Germans, the Europeans. Then China belilah all this capital goods untuk buat solar panel ni sebab dia nak kurangkan dia punya pencemaran dan dia nak jadi pembuat solar panel. And now they are the biggest producer of solar panels, and also they have managed to somehow turn their car industry into electrified car industry sebab salah satu lagi usaha nak kurangkan pencemaran. Kita sembang 2 minggu lepas dengan Cik Amin daripada NIO. Dia dah duduk sana dekat 16 tahun. Dia kata masa dia mula-mula duduk kat China tu, Nak tengok langit biru pun susah. Setahun 2-3 kali je nampak langit biru. Dia duduk kat Shanghai. Pada kita sekarang, seminggu memang 2-3 kali nampak langit biru. Based on what? Shanghai bukannya macam gila babi banyak kereta elektrik ke tak. Tapi Shanghai is one of those cities yang dah tukar semua dia punya bus. Ataupun hampir semua dia punya bus atau public transport dia kepada elektrik. Therefore, local pollution kurang. At least in the city center. So bersih lah udara dia. So as a result of them chasing this environmental targets, they develop the technology untuk kenderaan elektrik. So and one of the technology yang dia orang develop masa awal yang kita tak sedar is lithium iron phosphate battery. So lithium iron phosphate punya battery, the patent is about to expire ataupun baru expire. Either this year or late last year or mid of, I can't remember. Tapi dah barulah nak expire basically ataupun dah baru expire. So masa awal-awal, and you have to remember the usual ternary lithium ion yang kita pakai sekarang ni, yang nickel, cobalt, manganese tu, is John B. Goodenough punya discovery. And the lithium iron phosphate pun sebenarnya John B. Goodenough punya discovery juga. And this is something yang kita tak begitu faham sebab we're not really big in producing patents. Kita punya basic research kita not so good. So what they did was, dia ada banyak patent yang dia tahu boleh pakai. Tapi dia, university, mana ada banyak duit nak develop patent ni masuk market. So what they did was, John B. Goodenough and the university yang dia kerja tu, decided to sell the rights to the patent to one Canadian punya utility company. And this Canadian utility company memang ada strong R&D department, and they were going to sort out the final problems for manufacturing of lithium iron phosphate. But at the same time, apparently, the Chinese got hold of this patent also. Macam mana tak tahu, I don't know how dia curi ke apa, tak tahu, ataupun memang somebody pergi tunjuk kat dia untuk jual kat dia, or maybe they did buy, but somehow then develop on their own without telling anybody. But whatever it was, there was a dispute in terms of the patent of lithium iron phosphate. And the Chinese managed to prove that they had improved it significantly enough that whatever patent you kata you ada tu is actually, kita dah improve so much to make it workable. Yang you punya tak workable. So that bila dah banyak dispute macam tu, dia susah nak resolve. It becomes too difficult. So what they did was they agreed, okay, you boleh buat lithium iron phosphate in China, but you cannot sell it outside. So that's what they did. So the Chinese developed BYD. Ni BYD macam cerita lah. And probably CATL to some extent. But CATL sebab baru lagi BYD lah, sebab bus banyak BYD. So they developed it apparently. And I think also other battery company, I tak tahu, tapi BYD one of the big players. So they developed the lithium iron phosphate punya chemistry to the point where it becomes commercially available in China in a big way. We didn't even know about it until baru-baru ni je. Bila Tesla keluarkan kereta kata, we're going to use lithium iron phosphate. Kita macam, what? This is new? Bila cari-cari, oh dah lama. Actually benda ni kalau you dalam industri bateri, you dah tahu dah. Sebab kita bukan industri bateri, kita industri kereta, so kita tak tahu. So kita tahu, oh dah lama. So see, they developed it and they took charge. Dia tak tunggu benda tu datang. So now, the technology dah sampai tahap matang, and the idea of the electric car, the time has come. You cannot stop an idea whose time has arrived. And the idea of the electric car has arrived. So you nak tahan macam mana? So kita cerita fikir balik lah. Zaman kereta kuda tu, bila kereta enjin pembakaran ni datang, macam mana cara nak tahan? Ada tak? Cuba fikirkan cara macam nak tahan. Bayangkan kita duduk tahun 1905, hari-hari naik kuda ni. Aku tak ingin lah bang, tak sedap lah bawa kereta. Tak ada feel, kuda ada feel. Memanglah kuda ada feel, dia benda hidup. You boleh tengok muka kuda tu, mata dia tengok balik kat kita, ada connection. Kuda dengan orang, dua-dua benda hidup. So, connection. Kita nak cerita feel daripada kereta ICE pergi kereta elektrik, oh jauh beza dia, langit dengan bumi lah. Feel kuda dengan feel kereta, oh sembang tak guna. You naik kuda setengah jam, you boleh develop some kind of bond with the horse. Kereta So the connection is so much stronger, ia boleh pecah. Terlerai juga. At the end of the day, because it's much easier to operate an ICE car. Kan? Sama sekarang ni. So it's a technology shift. Bila technology shift, susah nak defend. So whatever the government buat, tak akan boleh buat apa. So the government of Malaysia has done genius step. To me, it's another genius step. Iaitu, kita buka pintu selapang-lapangnya for 5 years, for 4 years, sampai 2025. Kan? Untuk CBU, dia bagi 2 tahun. Tapi kalau you nak extra lagi, 4 tahun dia bagi. You pasang kereta tu locally. Zero tax, zero excise, zero road tax, zero sales. Ambil zero. Semua dia bagi zero. Bagi lagi 2,500 income tax rebate untuk charging infrastructure. Untuk beli charger pasang kat rumah atau nak subscribe to charging service. So the government dah buka pintu seluas-luasnya. Senang je kenapa government buat macam tu. Pasal government tak tahu macam mana nak uruskan perubahan ni. Dia tak boleh nak uruskan anjakan ni. Jadi ada orang dah telah berjaya beritahu pihak kerajaan bahawa kalau you tak buat macam ni, then it will become even worse. It become a disordered transition. Anjakan yang tidak teratur dan tidak terurus. Dan kerajaan tak boleh nak uruskan pasal dia tak tahu, dia bukan pakar teknologi. Jadi dia dah buka pintu 100%. So now I leave it to the industry. Nak uruskan anjakan ni. Kalau you tak nampak anjakan ombak ni, tsunami ni akan berlaku, and you don't run up the hill and prepare yourself, or do whatever you need to do, tembok ke apa ke, do whatever you need to do, but this thing is coming, then it'll be your loss. Siapa ingat nama syarikat yang pembuat kereta kuda terbesar di dunia? Who cares? Who remembers? Siapa ingat? Maybe yang buat carriage untuk the British Royal Family, itu katanya dah lama, berapa ratus tahun. Who cares? Maybe dia buat 20-30 kereta kuda setahun. Who cares? It's just becomes a very niche thing. You know? So you now, the industry, kena tengok benda ni dan ambil peluang ni. Pasal this is the signal from the government sebenarnya. Is that this shift is coming, this wave is going to be so big that it's not, you cannot consider it as an attack. If it's an attack, we can defend. But this is not an attack. The whole pitch is being upheaved. The whole pitch is being changed. Sebagai contoh lah, kalau kata kita tengok bola lah, okay? Sekarang ni kita dah tak nak main atas rumput dah. Astroturf pun kita tak nak lah. Nak main atas tiles, mampus. So kau nak lagi, kenapa? Kasut pun tukar lah. Because the whole pitch has changed. So the whole game is now different. It might look more like rollerblade than football because they tukar the pitch there. So this is what's going to happen. The pitch is changing. The whole sea level akan naik. So kapal ni kalau you ikat dia kuat-kuat ke bumi, air naik, kapal tak boleh naik, tenggelam. Itu saja cerita dia. Kena lepaskan sauh. Ikut naik sekali. Tu message yang saya nampak daripada kenapa kerajaan bagi 0, 0, 0, 0. Dan kenapa tiap-tiap player in the market kena start from today, have a strategy macam mana nak move to electric. You can say you tak nak move, it's fine. Ada siapa-siapa tak kat sini yang sedih Nokia dah tak ada? Nokia sekarang kalau you tengok iklan dia dekat YouTube dia kata, hey you, the engineer behind the network. Nokia sekarang buat network punya equipment ni. Nak lawan dengan Huawei pun tak tentu boleh hidup. Kan? You dah sedih ke? Sedih, tak ada Nokia. Siapa sedih Kodak lah tak ada? Sedih Kodak lah tak ada. Tak ada siapa sedih. Nobody will cry. Nobody will cry. Siapa sedih Pentax lah tak buat kamera? Tak siapa sedih. Minolta tak ada dah. Habis hilang itu je. Who cares? You might be the best. Kalau besok Canon tak boleh nak adapt, dia akan mati. Nikon tak boleh adapt, dia akan mati. Itu je cerita dia. The one industry yang dah berjaya, stay relevant, even though there was a shift in technology, adalah satu yang saya nampak, yang buat jam. And the Swiss sebenarnya was among the first yang figure out macam mana nak buat apa orang panggil quartz watches tu. But they realised that if you make quartz watches, then matilah dia punya mechanical system tu kan. So what they decided was that dia tak nak buat benda tu. So they just kekal buat jam yang mahal-mahal. So maybe kalau nak buat, boleh buat macam tu. So companies yang buat kereta mahal-mahal boleh stay doing what they always just done. Companies like Ferrari mungkin can continue. Because it doesn't matter how much denda you nak kenakan kat atas Ferrari. Kalau orang nak beli Ferrari, dia bayar denda tu sekali. Let's say next year Ferrari decides, I don't care, I want to build still V12 cars. I still have my electric stuff. Macam Swatch lah. Swatch ada dia punya electric punya quartz watches kan. But I still want to make V12. Oh, di European Union kata boleh, tapi satu kereta pun nak denda 200,000 euro. So what? If my buyers want the car, they will pay for it. Because dia nak dengar bunyi tu. Kenapa orang excited tengok mechanical watches? I mean, because that's human skill kan kita nak tengok. So there is excitement. Tapi mahal lah benda tu. You can't get a Swiss watch for cheap. You can beli Casio teroris tu for what? RM100. RM60 je lu. Sekarang dah macam popular sikit dan naik lah. 100 lebih. For RM60 you can get a Casio that's been in production for God knows how long. And more than 50 years probably it's already in production. But it's not the same lah. But almost everybody pakai quartz watch. Yang pakai jam mechanical mesti kena ada duit. Pasal benda tu susah dan mahal nak buat. In the future, luxury brands yang sporting boleh buat benda tu. Company macam Rolls-Royce kalau dia nak buat, boleh buat. Tetapi, kalau you nak provide ultimate luxury, is electric because quietness, senyap, better comfort, cleaner car, minyak-minyak ni semua berbau kan. Bau minyak lah, bau minyak hitam lah, apa semua. This is more luxury. But kereta sports, yes. You nak bunyi, you nak fun bawa. So, buatlah, tak ada masalah. Macam juga kita sekarang, masih lagi ada orang guna kuda untuk weekend. Tuan Mahathir masih suka naik kuda. Dia dah 90 tahun, dia suka naik kuda pasal apa? Memang best naik kuda. Dia tanya ke orang yang naik kuda, dia kata memang best naik kuda. They pay a lot of money to buy and keep horses. Doesn't make sense. Nak bagi makan kuda sebulan 1,000 lebih. Makan je. Tak boleh ubat apa benda mak nenek lagi. Kalau you kuda mahal, makan dia lagi mahal. Ubat dia lagi mahal. Nak banyak stable lagi. Nak bayar itu lagi. Naik hujung minggu je. Kadang-kadang sebulan 2 bulan tak naik kuda tu. Sebab pasal dia kaya, tak apa buat bila. Orang macam kita, sama ni nanti ICE tu akan jadi mahal. Because satu bila okay, so the transition, the shift in technology ni is from mechanical to electronic. Daripada mechanical ke electronic. Anything yang shift from mechanical to electronic, dia akan jadi lebih murah. Kenapa? Pasal bila you shift to electronic, componentry yang you buat tu dah tak ada moving parts. Dan selalunya dia kecil dan halus. Motorola Flip yang mula-mula tu dulu. Motorola Flip. Masa mula-mula keluar handphone dululah. Motorola Flip tu. RM5,000 dekat harga. Yang basic modelnya RM2,500. Lepas tu dia ada macam premium, gold blend, extra mahal, RM5,000. Beza dia apa? Siapa ingat? Yang biasa tu boleh simpan 10 number. Yang extra mahal harga RM5,000 tu boleh simpan 100 number. Lah ni kita gelak. Tapi dulu kata, who would have 100 numbers to keep on their phone? Now we have thousands of numbers in our phone. Masa mula-mula teknologi tu start, ingat, you have 10 numbers, your parents. Masa tu, parents pun tak ada handphone. So, nombor rumah mak pak kita, nombor rumah mentua kita, mungkinlah kawan kita, best friend kita kan, nombor rumah kita, Paling-paling kuat 10 number lah. Tak ramai orang pakai kan. Lepas tu siapa yang mungkin business kan, yalah nak ada 100 number lah. So that's probably amount of important numbers dekat Rolodex yang dia maintain. So 100 numbers. But that now become so like 5,000. And that phone, kawan saya, dia habis tadi, dia kerja apa orang panggil? Orang bila tengah duk study tu macam attachment lah dekat kilang Motorola tu. Dia kata the bill of material for that thing $25. $25. Cheaper than a dial phone macam tu dia cerita. $25 because apa dia bill of material dia? Everything on the circuit board yang pakai chip semua, gila murah kot. Transistor tu bersen je ke? Kalau you pernah pergi kedai elektronik hobby, if you masuk tengok barang-barang, dia atok segala macam magnet transistor, bedik dia duit dah kira. So kalau you dah boleh combine all your chip, all your transistor semua beribu-ribu, beratus-ratus ribu dalam satu chip, what do you think is the cost of that chip? So right now kalau kita nak beli, I don't know, sekarang ni, Ryzen 7 yang top, dengan Motorola punya i7, i9, whatever lah, dia punya 18 core, 32 core, 64 core, whatever chip yang you ni, katalah paling mahal lah, 3,500 dah, 4,000. Chip yang paling terror lah, CPU paling terror lah, habis terror dah tu, paling laju, clock speed apa semua bagai mak nenek. Tapi that same chip, kalau slightly lower clock speed, harga dia kurang. Pasal apa? So sebenarnya cost dia very low. The bill of material for a microchip is very low. It's just silica. But the machine to make the chip is very expensive. That's how the electronic industry works. Mesin yang nak buat LCD panel tadi datang dari Germany itu mahal mak neneknya. So bila dia buat, this is something that you must understand about the electronic industry which the mechanical industry tak ada. So bila you beli TV screen, TV besar no, kenapa dia mahal? Buat dalam mesin yang sama juga, tapi kenapa dia mahal? Sebab a finished product has to be 100% perfect. Kan? So bila you buat TV yang kecil, the number of pixel on a screen is smaller than the number of pixel on a bigger screen. You have one dead pixel, kena buang benda tu. So bila yang kecil tu, dia punya success rate maybe 70%. Maksudnya dia buat 10, 7 boleh pakai. Bila you buat screen yang besar tu, success rate dia may drop to 0.1 ataupun 0.09, 100 buat 9 je boleh pakai, kena buang. That's why dia mahal. Sama aja, microchip semua sama macam tu aja. Lepas habis buat kena test. Test baru dapat speed apa? i7 tu ada speed macam-macam. Bukan dia buat speed lain-lain, tak. Dia buat sama aja. Habis bila dia test, tengok, oh speed ni lain ni speed. So dia baru dia categorize. Because the cost of material is very low. So bila kereta ni shift masuk ke electronic industry, dia become from mechanical industry jadi electronics industry, apa jadi? Modularization and common parts will become the byword. Sekarang ni, every single car company develop their own engine. 4-cylinder. Semua orang buat their own 4-cylinder engine. How wasteful is that? Membazir sebenarnya. Membazir. But they tell themselves that ada feel. Engine dia feel lain daripada engine lain. So maksudnya Toyota kata, engine aku feel dia lain daripada engine Honda, daripada engine Nissan, daripada engine Subaru, daripada engine Mazda, whatever lah. Daripada engine Hyundai, Kia, bagaimana ni apa semua cerita. But towards the end, kan? Sekarang ni, kita tengok, some companies dah tak boleh afford to develop their own engine. Because it becomes so expensive. So Mitsubishi used to donate their new technology to Hyundai. That's how Hyundai started guna Mitsubishi punya teknologi, sama macam Proton lah. But now Hyundai is so much bigger than Mitsubishi, that Mitsubishi buys engines from Hyundai. Kemudian dia never tell anybody lah, buat dia diam lah. BMW used to share engine dengan the PSA group. Yang punya untuk Mini. So at the end of the day, sebenarnya at the back end, they're starting to realize that they're starting to share platform. But the electronic industry dah sedar ni lama dah. You buka komputer, Dell. Apa benda yang Dell buat? Maybe motherboard design, Dell punya. Motherboard pun dia tak buat. So some company somewhere else, China ke Taiwan ke Korea ke, make the motherboard for them. And then of course chip-chip lain atas tu, memory chip ke, processor ke, graphic card ke, internet ethernet punya card ke, semua beli ya, pasang. Tinggal sekarang you nak design interface you. Screen bezel macam mana. Lain cerita dia tu lah. Cerita screen bezel, cerita chiclet punya keypad ke, keypad nyala ke, lampu ke, berapa banyak port ada. Dalam bukan dia punya pun. Dell. So you beli Dell, wah nak Dell punya screen. You beli Sony punya. You beli Lenovo punya screen. Color and all that. The user interface becomes proprietary, but not the technology inside. So the car industry will become like that. The user interface will be proprietary. That's what car companies will focus on. Tapi in the back end, it will not be proprietary. And if car companies tak boleh adapt to this new paradigm, they will die. Simple. Kalau you insist on developing your own motor, drive system, battery, you will die. As simple as that. OS kereta pun most likely car companies tak boleh buat. Pasal you tengok smartphone sudah ada dua aja operating system yang successful. Mungkin Nokia ada bawa keluar apa tak tahu lah. But basically there is Apple iOS dengan Android. Android you ambil, you buatlah dia punya own flavor. Samsung ada dia punya own flavor. Oppo ada, Huawei ada, macam-macam, Xiaomi ada. That's it. It becomes so expensive to develop the OS that you can't afford to develop your own. Just buat flavor saja. Do the skin saja. So OS kereta ni, for now, everybody seems to think dia boleh buat. I agree. So masa kita transition daripada landline phones pergi ke mobile phones, the early phones were quite basic. But masa tu, kita tengok ada parallel development. Kita panggil PDA. Ingat tak PDA? Siapa ingat PDA? Memang the early PDA was nama Newton, ingat tak? Macam smart diary lah, electronic diary. Kan, electronic notebook. Kan, ingat tak? Kita boleh buat simpan diary kita, schedule kita, take down notes. Kan? And then keluar. Benda-benda macam tu lah. Then suddenly somebody combine the two. Apple combine the two. Jadikan smartphone. Kat dalam tu lah you punya internet, kat dalam tu lah you punya movies, kat dalam tu lah you punya calendar. Semua ada dalam tu. Suddenly, and Nokia couldn't develop the OS to compete. Siapa develop? Google develop Android. So that OS becomes prolific now. So there's iOS, there's Android. Untuk the car, betul tak saya cakap? Kalau kata for the car industry, for now, yes, it's just OS untuk electric drive. That means you design some kind of drive algorithm into macam mana your profile for your throttle, for your single pedal operation, for your braking, for your adaptive cruise control. These are basic stuff. Macam adaptive cruise control tu, basically it's you can make it work now. Honda makes it work with just pure vision. Toyota pun starting to make it work with pure vision. So that's what Daihatsu and Pro 2 pakai untuk Activa. Pure vision camera je, tak ada radar. So dengan simple camera, you boleh baca lah. You boleh faham. You can understand a two-dimensional picture and understand where the camera is, apa dia punya focal length and field of view. So you boleh tahu dah ni berapa jarak dia, the rate of approach semua. So you boleh buat this little software untuk run your ADAS. But eventually, where is this going? Itu kita panggil level 2 autonomous. Kan? Level 2 means dia boleh control lateral and longitudinal and lateral controls. Tapi you tak boleh lepas tangan. Maksudnya kereta yang adaptive cruise control level 2, dia boleh jaga jarak, dan dia ada lane keeping, Dia boleh bawa kita, steering kita dia boleh adjustkan, ikut lane dia boleh baca. But you know what level 5 is, right? You know what level 5 autonomous driving means, right? Level 5 means you boleh tidur dan kereta tu boleh jalan. How long will it take to get there? God knows. Ada orang kata 30 tahun, ada orang kata 10 tahun, ada orang kata 5 tahun. Saya tak pandai benda-benda ni, jadi saya tak boleh nak predict. But all I know is the amount of money being poured into autonomous driving is so much that somebody is bound to find the solution. We don't know who. Maybe it could be Google dengan dia punya Waymo. It could be Intel punya dulu apa, Mobileye. It could well be, I don't know, Samsung apa nama Hyundai ke dia punya sistem. It could be anybody. It could be even George Hotz dengan dia punya Comma AI. But the leading contender right now is Tesla. And I think, ni pendapat saya lah, the moment that problem is solved, then there is no point for anybody to spend money lagi dah to redevelop the system. So whoever gets to market first with autonomous drive, for other people it's just not worth the money to develop it. Because, kenapa? Because this is about chasing nine. In order for autonomous level 5 nak dapat kelulusan undang-undang untuk digunakan atas jalan raya, you kena promise what? What is that you have to promise? That the system is what? 100 times safer than a human being? Is that enough? Ke you nak 10,000 kali lebih selamat? Atau 10,000 kali? Atau 100,000 kali lebih selamat? Atau 1,000,000 kali lebih selamat? Which one? Before kita rasa selesa untuk ada kereta yang tak ada steering pun. Ataupun steering keluar hanya bila kita panggil. Which one? What level are you happy with? 99.9? 99.999? 99.9999? We're chasing 9. So the moment you sampai satu tahap di mana you tengok macam, yalah, I can drive this car almost without touching the steering wheel. Kita tengok sekarang Tesla 10.3, FSD dia, dah ada banyak video yang tunjuk driving without engagement, destination to destination. And that's like very basic, very crude system. Yang semua orang kata, this will be refined so much further nanti that it becomes just no-brainer that the car will be able to figure out to drive in any road in any country. The only thing yang dia kena masukkan dalam tu ialah the local laws and local customs maybe on some things. Because what they're doing is they're creating general driving intelligence. It's very specific tau. Bukan general intelligence overall, but general intelligence for driving. Google is developing general intelligence. That's just deep general intelligence. That one is even bigger lah. Itu lain cerita lah. That one now is almost smart enough to write articles yang kita baca, kita tak tentu boleh teka yang ini komputer yang tulis. But for Tesla, just developing general intelligence for driving. For Google Waymo, general intelligence for driving. Comma pun nak develop general intelligence for driving. End to end, maksudnya you buka aja, dia akan figure out on its own. Macam mana nak drive on any road in any world, in a country, any place in the world. So you imagine how much money they're putting into it right now? Dojo lah, designing your own chip lah, hiring so many software engineers just to make that work. How many companies in the world sekarang yang ada resources macam Tesla? Tesla got so much money right now, it's just unbelievable. So they're going to dump all that money and sink it into this AI problem until they develop the operating system. So the Tesla operating system will now be one of the operating system that semua car companies akan pakai. But if Tesla will let them have it lah, which I think they will. Because then it's just, they're in control so much more with terms and conditions lah. So Google might solve that problem as well. Slightly different flavor. Kan, they'll be competing OS. Maybe the Intel Mobileye also. I don't know. Maybe I rasa 2 atau 3 aja OS yang akan operational. Sekarang lah, phone. Kan? So then everybody will develop apps on top of that lah for these two operating system for the cars. So when that happens, all the other car companies, dah kita suffer ni, kita punya transition pergi ke electronic industry where everything is going to be common parts. Hang sibuk lagi nak develop your own proprietary drive mechanism, you will die. What they should focus right now, sekarang ni, before anything else, is focus on how to develop proprietary user interface. Itu saja. From now on, start to pergi sembang lah dengan Tesla ke, dengan Mobileye ke, dengan siapa ke, cakap, okay, operating system, Google ke, okay, operating system, we're not going to bother, we're just going to look at you. Pakai you punya aja. Just going to use yours. Because it's just ni tanya Encik Amin cerita, dia kata mechanical engineers dengan software engineer sama banyak dekat Neo tu. And I think it's true everywhere. I think kat Tesla lagi banyak software engineer daripada mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, whatever else. So that's just the reality. That's the big problem. The mechanical problem kita dah solve lama dah. Electrical drive problem kita dah solve lama dah. Battery kita tengah solve along the way. The solution is coming. How to carry power. We don't understand the final solution yet, but that's being developed. And as of now, battery is a good interim technology while we figure out a different way maybe of whether the cars even need to carry power on board or whether this will just be macam kereta api elektrik, will just pick up power from the road. We don't know, right? But basically, is the drive technology is sorted out already. Now the power technology is being developed. That could change in the long term lah. And that's the only other unknown yang I rasa mungkin have some big shift. But either way, we are going to a very fundamental shift in technology. Therefore, there is no way that you boleh lari. Then the cost of developing this thing will fall so much that there is no way that you can compete with the electric car industry. Building ICE cars. I tak nampak. And I will tell you again, kalau siapa yang tak pernah dengar, kita cerita balik tentang DVD. DVD pada tahun 1990-an, awal 1990-an, harga dia nak beli satu DVD player, mungkin 2,500. Kalau nak beli VCD player, mungkin 1,500. Kalau nak beli laser disc player, mungkin sampai RM5,000. Laser disc mampu itu, siapa pun tak mau. Tapi VCD dengan DVD continue, dan harga drop by the early 2000. You boleh masuk Tesco dan beli satu DVD player for less than RM100. Betul tak? That's how the electronic industry works. Because the DVD player doesn't have to work like a computer. Maksudnya komputer dia macam-macam app nak main kan. Tak ada, DVD player senang je. VCD player ni senang je. Dia nak kena baca all the bits on the spinning disk and convert it to images. So either you pakai, apa encoding nak pakai? There's a certain type of encoding yang the industry has agreed to, which all you have to do is just buy the codec. MP4 ke, apa benda ke, Blu-ray codec ke, beli je codec tu, masukkan, pergi cari supplier laserhead, pasangkan, that's it. Lepas tu dia nak buat display je. Dengan kotak luar dia. Pergilah cari kilang metal stamping melambak-lambak. Sungai Petani ada, Kulim ada, Penang ada, merata ada. Tak payah cerita, kat China lagi banyak lah. So the cost become so cheap. Tapi kalau kita buat 1,000 tahun pun tak boleh buat macam tu. So this is what will happen to the car industry. The cost of building the cars will drop so much to a point where there's no way you can build an ICE car and stay profitable. There is just no way. The only question is how long before that happens. As a legacy car maker, masalah. Sebab they have investment yang dia dah buat. Dia ada kilang. So dia ada banyak hang-ups. That's their problem lah. How do they get around that problem? Itu kena carilah CEO yang pandai-pandai macam nak solve that problem. But now, if you imagine, company macam Foxconn masuk and starts building cars to order as contract manufacturer. And then you duduk kat situ, kerja kat Foxconn 5 tahun, dia tengok, oh macam tu je. Okay, aku pun boleh buka. Then there will be so many contract manufacturer. Macam sekarang lah, barang elektronik, contract manufacturer je. Apple tak ada. I don't know if Apple has own factory ke tidak, but I don't think so. I think semua contract manufacturer je. And that is the most valuable product in the world tau, iPhone tu. And the most valuable brand in the world pun tak buat barang dia sendiri. So what is so strange, what is so unique about the car industry? Cerita balik feel tu lah. Feel lah. Feel ni kat berapa kerat dah. 90% of the world drivers don't care about the car that they drive, cannot tell the difference between feel, they have no real brand preference other than what their friends tell them, other than what advertisements tell them. Most people don't care about performance. That is why the world's most popular car company ialah Toyota dengan Volkswagen, and the products they produce are pedestrian. Yang laku ialah Toyota Corolla dengan Volkswagen Golf. Hebat kat mana dua kereta ni? Hebat dia ialah kereta ni tahan lasak. Tak kerap rosak. Jadi maksudnya, kebanyakan orang beli kereta, priority dia apa? Performance? Bukan. Right handling? Bukan. Feel? Bukan. Jenama? Bukan. Jenama tu hanya sebagai filter. Dalam hidup ni kita banyak pakai filter. Kadang-kadang kawan-kawan kita jadi filter. So brand is just a filter. Kenapa kita beli Toyota? Pasal filter. Toyota is a filter. Maksudnya, kita tahu dah bila kita beli kereta Toyota, kita akan dapat kereta yang lasak, tak kerap rosak. Sama dengan Volkswagen. Sama dengan jenama Jepun. Secara keseluruhan, Honda ke, Nissan ke, most of Japanese cars, betul tak? Kita sahabat, kenapa kita nak kereta Jepun, tak mau kereta Cina, tak mau kereta Korea? Kereta Jepun tahan. That's a filter. Right? So the filter is not about performance. Yang cerita performance tu lain tu, yang beli Ferrari, McLaren, semua tu lain cerita lah. Ataupun yang beli Honda Civic Type R. But that number is 10% or less, or smaller. Most likely to be smaller. 90% of people don't care. They treat their cars like they treat their washing machine. Tak ada feel pun. There's no feel, no love. They're not proud of their car. Dia nak bersih je kereta dia. So then, tak lah basuh. Kan boleh like the car kan. But some people are proud of their car. Dia basuh tu dia rasa happy, dia rasa bangga kereta dia bersih. Most of people don't care. So imagine bila you move to this technology where it's electronic, people are going to care about the brand, or they just want a car to be cheap and the car to be tahan lasak. Kita beli washing machine ni kan, kita beli washing machine lah kan. Aku besok beli Toshiba, so aku nak beli juga Toshiba. Maybe, betul. Aku biasa pakai Panasonic lah. Aku nak beli juga Panasonic. Okay? Betul? Mungkin? Maybe. Pasal apa tu? Pasal dia tahan. Betul tak? So, pergi tengok. Samsung punya 25% cheaper lah. Tengok. Bila dia dah macam the price difference is so big, suddenly dia macam, I need to reconsider my position. Then you balik, start tengok. Mungkin hari ni kita tak beli. Macam mana harga beza ni? Balik tengok sikit. Tengok tak ada problem pun. Jenama Samsung tu. Whatever lah brand ni, ibu ubah tengok. Because washing machine bukannya kita rasa hari-hari kita nak lap dia, belai dia, sayang dia, petik ke. Lap, belai, sayang. Ada. Mahal elektrik tak ada. So this is what's going to happen to the car industry. They will find that people don't care sebenarnya. They know this already. Most people don't really care. People buy Mazda because of the design, yes. Different daripada yang lain. Kaki Honda, minat Honda, yes. Because mungkin design atau VTEC atau whatever lah. People beli Toyota sebab kereta ni tahan, aku nak jual nanti good resale value. But if somebody can offer cheaper, mesti akan, wait a minute. Wait. So that's what happened with Proton dengan Pro 2. Tiba-tiba Proton main murah habis, tetapi beli itu. Price is a very big factor. And when that happens lah. Okay, so. Saya tengok sikit lah. Soalan kawan-kawan. Sorry, lambat sikit lah. Kalau orang good cat masuk Malaysia, orang good cat, I tell you Kalau you belum tengok lagi, saya baru tadi premierkan Aura Black Cat punya video. Masa saya pergi tengok Aura Black Cat tu, Aura Good Cat pun ada, dan saya dapat peluang pandu uji. Dan video tu akan naik lah sehari 2 lagi. I can tell you, Aura Good Cat tu memang satu produk yang akan mencuri hati ramai orang. Satu, dia punya design dia memang cute, happy design. Cabin dia rasa premium, cantik, kereta senyap. Ni kereta elektrik senyap. Power pun okey, macam 2.0. Maybe a bit more than that. Semua features ada. Adaptive cruise control dia bagus. Nanti tengoklah video tu, saya dah nak keluarkan dah. Ni Jerebuman ni hang kerja dengan Innokom, kau macam tahu je. So, memang dengan Kia, katanya lah, they're trying to get Kia to come and work with Innokom lah untuk CKD punya program. So, hopefully jadi something lah. Hopefully something jadi. Pasal the French, I think, as in PSA Stellantis dah masuk dah melalui NASA Gurun. So, dia dah beli NASA Gurun 100%. So, dia dah buat di sana. So, the Gurun plant will become the regional hub for Stellantis nak export. So, katanya lah, kalau kita tengok Stellantis punya strategi, yang punya most successful brand is Jeep lah. So, I'm sure Jeep will be in the plan somehow. Peugeot, Citroen, Opel, Fiat, Alfa Romeo, semua macam-macam ada jenama bawah Stellantis, dan dia mungkin boleh buat di Gurun. So, Gurun, I don't know what dia punya standing capacity sekarang, mungkin 50,000 ke. But ruang banyak kat Gurun tu, dia boleh increase the capacity, I think up to 200-300,000 pun boleh kalau dia nak buat lah, saya rasa. Bateri punya cerita ni masih awal lagi so mungkin kita tak tahu ke mana dia nak pergi, sama ada bateri swapping ke apa ke. And I think battery replacement tu, the industry as it moves forward, dia mungkin macam laptop lah, laptop kadang-kadang bateri tu masih lagi slightly strange shape lah. Maksudnya luar casing tu slightly weird shape sebab nak fit into the casing yang dia orang buat design for dia orang punya laptop. Maybe some kena lebar, some boleh gemuk sikit pasal of the design of the casing. But kereta pun sama, saya rasa, but the individual cells tu mungkin become standardized, ataupun maybe there will be a standardized size. Macam like that battery size dah AA kan. So Tesla is a big believer on that cell pack. At the cell level is standardized size. Dia pakai bulat. But then again, the LFP dia saya tak tahu. Soalnya yang bila dia cerita LFP dia ambil daripada CATL apa tu, kita pun tak tahu whether that is cylindrical or whether that is prismatic or apa. Saya pun tak tahu. Because one of the problem with LFP, dia punya energy density dia tak sama tinggi macam ternary punya lithium ion. Bila kita sebut ternary, maksudnya NMC lah, nickel, manganese, cobalt lah, yang menggunakan NMC. So those batteries, because dia punya energy density slightly lower, there is certain advantages bila you pakai prismatic battery pack lah. Because when you pakai prismatic battery pack, you can use 100%, almost 100% of the space. Bila you pakai bulat-bulat punya sini, dengan ruang-ruang antara bulat tu mesti tak nak isi lah dengan bateri. So that's the reason why prismatic punya battery cells ni, bateri ni ada advantages dia lah. But I don't know whether yang punya LFP tu pakai prismatic ataupun cylindrical. Malaysia masih lagi wujud larangan hapus kereta lama. Agak suka saya rasa nak berkembang EV. Ni radio karat saya tanya. Hang punya Nokia sabun mana? Bila hang tukar? Ni sebab tu saya cakap, cerita dia, bila harga smartphone tu dah turun nanti, hang buang lah hang Nokia sabun tu. Tak mau lah. Ericsson dulu ke apa, Sony. Tak mau lah. You nak smartphone tu juga. Once the price has gone down, sekarang ni, smartphone yang kiranya 30-40 kali ganda lagi canggih daripada iPhone 1 dulu tu, harga dia berapa date ni? 700-800 dapat dah. Betul tak? This is like more canggih than the iPhone 1. So bayangkan iPhone 1 tu umur berapa? 12 tahun, 13 tahun. Within the span of that number of years, imagine daripada sekarang Tesla Model S tu kan, dalam 10 tahun lagi you boleh beli kereta at 1/4 of the price with better performance than the Tesla Model S. Yang sekarang pecutan tu tak masuk akal macam cerita. Pecutan tu saya rasa dah tak mungkin dah tak boleh laju lagi pada tu lah. Tapi range katalah for example, capability lain. So kalau yang tu takat tu macam tu, dah jadi turun, sekarang ni Tesla Model S tu katalah dalam what? 5-6 ribu kat Malaysia. Katalah in 10 years time, you can get a car with better performance than that for half the price. So what does that mean about kereta-kereta yang performance kurang lagi? Still smartphone. Still electric car. If the price of a car that can drive 400 kilometers, 450 kilometers with performance menggunakan engine ataupun motor 200 kilowatt, so kita kena faham kereta elektrik ni, dia kadang-kadang it's better for you to install a motor that is a bit too powerful for the car in order to achieve energy efficiency. So you have a car that might have the performance of a 3-liter engine at a price of a 1.5 in 10 years time because of the way the electronics industry work. Lepas tu, anak simpan juga hanya Proton Saga tu, simpan lah. Anak simpan juga punya Corolla 86 tu, simpan lah, tak ada masalah. Sama macam orang yang nak simpan kereta kuda tu, simpan lah, tak ada masalah. Tapi kebanyakan orang dah tak mahu benda tu. Tu je cerita dia. Dan benda ni sama macam smartphone saya cakap lagi sekali. Smartphone tu tak payah nak paksa orang beli lah. Han tak payah nak paksa mereka buang Nokia sabun apa tu, mereka buang sendiri lah. Tak payah nak cerita pasal nak hapus, tak ada buang sendiri lah. Sendiri mereka buang. Tak payah habang. Yang mana nak simpan tetap akan simpan. Pasal itu peminat kereta klasik dia simpan. Yes, akan datang ramai orang akan buat electric car. Bufori, tak tahulah Bufori nak buat tidak. Tak tahu, tapi saya tengok dekat Twitter ramai orang dah tag Elon Musk lah. Pasal berita teks kita ni. So, mungkin dia dah tengok, saya pun tak tahu. Muhammad Yasir kata, saya rasa tak mustahil kita dapat charge EV kurang dari I think 10 minit tu it's not too far away lah. 10 minit is not too far. I think 15 minutes dah ada dah. 10 minutes is not too far away. So sekarang ni banyak kereta guna 400 volt punya system. So we don't know whether people will shift to 900 volt ataupun 900 volt punya system. So if they shift, then they'll just have faster charging time. Tesla still using 400 volt system because they already invested in that lah. So we don't know, the next architecture might be 900 volts for all we know. Right? With the new car yang smaller, more affordable, yang kata $25 car tu, katalah they shift that one to 900 volt punya architecture and they will get faster charging time. So if you can do it now in 30 minutes with a 900 volt, you probably can cut that down to easy lah 15 to 20 minutes sampai nak cecah 80%. And from that on, kita tak tahu lah how many watts yang you boleh tembak as fast into the car lah. Kan? So if they find a new chemistry yang boleh tahan tembak 500 kilowatt masuk sekali, kan? Then boleh cepat lah. Cerita dia takut bateri tu tak tahan panas lah. And damage the battery bila tembak laju-laju. It's not that you cannot develop a 1,000 1 megawatt punya charging station pun boleh. But whether the battery can handle it lah. So one that battery punya problem is solved, then it's not an issue lah. Akses teknologi yang kita pegang. Akses teknologi ni kalau kita decide kita nak buat dari sekarang boleh. Tapi saya tak tahulah setakat mana kita nak fokus. To me, we should focus on battery lah. Battery. Because battery tu, we're still at the relatively low floor lah. Kita boleh masuk lagi lah. You know? Because battery ni, kalau tidak pun kita kena juga develop. Because distributed energy storage will be the future of energy security. So you need to have batteries in the country on the grid level. if not at the grid level pun, distributed lah in some manner. Maksudnya kalau setiap rumah ada bateri, then TNB can manage that as an energy exchange. And then the country has heavily distributed energy. There's no single point of failure anymore. Therefore, blackouts will be a thing of the past. Tak ada jadi dah blackout. Blackout hanya individual houses saja. Because the grid is so distributed that kalau kata pecah satu substation punya pun, then every house dah ada bateri sendiri. Kan? Kalau kata a big substation pecah that affects 5 smaller substation, then the smaller substation boleh redistribute energy within dia punya reach to make sure everybody ada elektrik. Siapa yang tak ada bateri kat rumah pun dia boleh redistribute balik, ambil power daripada rumah yang ada bateri, so that blackout will be a thing of the past. So memang bateri is something that we need to develop, and I think that's what we should focus on lah for now. In terms of motor semua tu, I think that one kita it's just about beli je lah motor tu semua. The OS, I think developing flavor aja, developing app on top of the AS. I don't see a point in doing that because it's just so expensive, and the people are so far ahead already in that one. Unless memang ada satu genius lah yang boleh come out. I've figured out the neural, the machine learning untuk benda ni, and the neural net I figured out already. Orang yang tak ada idea ni, I boleh buat satu sistem yang can learn within a very short time and with limited data, because data flywheel is one thing lah. So flywheel ni orang cerita Tesla punya, I digress kejap lah. So orang cerita pasal Tesla punya apa nama tu, orang panggil information data flywheel lah, because they collect so much data from I don't know how many cars dia adalah on the road now, million cars, whatever it is. So the data flywheel, like any kind of flywheel, has to be the right size. It doesn't mean that the bigger the flywheel, the better. Tak. So macam flywheel biasa juga kereta kita, yes, kalau engine tu dia punya path tak even, you need a bigger flywheel. But as the engine path becomes more even, the size of the flywheel can be reduced. So Tesla punya engine masa awal-awal tu, mungkin the fluctuation and dia punya learning lah, as they try nak compensate salah betul. Biasalah when you write program, katalah yang nak try to follow something. Kalau you pernah tengok Lego Mindstorm, kalau anak-anak you pernah masuk kelas robotics Lego Mindstorm, dia ada satu game ataupun task yang dia ajar robot tu macam nak ikut line hitam. So cara robot tu belajar lah, dia tengok line dekat kiri kanan. So dia nak cari line hitam tu. So dia nak ikut line hitam tu lah. So that's how they do it. So sama any kind of software yang learning and trying nak tracking, dia buat macam tu. Dia always kena tengok difference. Kalau tak ada difference, dia macam okay, dia little bit confused. Dia akan cari difference, and that difference tu lagi cekap dia, the oscillation yang makin kecil. So that means macam engine kereta, kalau kita nak tengok energy flywheel tu lah, engine yang V12 sebenarnya tak memerlukan flywheel yang begitu besar untuk smooth out the power relative to engine size. But if it's a single cylinder, then the flywheel tu relatively big compared to the engine capacity. Pasal nak smooth out the single cylinder punya power and torque punya variation, dia tak even, so dia nak kena flywheel. But the flywheel as Tesla punya FSD becomes smarter and smarter, that data flywheel tu will shrink. They don't need it as much anymore, to a point where nanti it will become a very small flywheel. Macam kereta racing is a very small flywheel, because the engine is powerful enough and the flywheel is actually a drag on the engine. It doesn't allow the engine to speed up and lose speed as quickly as possible, the throttle response. So the flywheel needs to be of optimum size, and that flywheel is very expensive, and I don't think we have, I mean even Google Waymo pun tak ada flywheel yang cukup besar lah untuk help them move forward, and only Tesla has that right now. So all the things yang kita boleh develop, I only see battery lah. Harap pengeluar dapat bawa kereta EV bawah 90k dan dengan real range 300 km. Saya rasa that's before 2025. I strongly believe that will happen before 2025. And then when that first car masuk, everybody else will be in trouble. Provided, of course, bila you bawa masuk kereta below 90,000, it has to be locally produced, pasal you dah expect volume lah. And therefore, you also need support from the components lah, maksudnya battery lah, and motors and all the relevant electronic controls and whatever else that you need for the car. company kecil macam Bufori ni sebenarnya they just buy off the shelf je. They can buy off the shelf if they want to, because that's what they've been doing anyway. Bufori bukan design engine sendiri. Chassis is, I think, something that is so well understood already, and chassis in the way that they are Bufori work, because tak guna, it's going to be a welded frame. It's going to be frame lah. And then you can make it space frame, so that becomes like something more rigid. It's not going to be monocoque lah. I don't think it's going to be monocoque like in a proper car macam tu lah. So they orang boleh transition pergi elektrik a lot faster lah. They just buy off the shelf. Itu kalau dia nak lah. Kalau dia nak. Kerajaan kita tak tolong ke sadaikan dia aja. Nak tolong macam mana? Bufori ni very niche product dia. Dia nak suruh government beli kereta dia untuk pakai pun tak boleh. Nak suruh buat apa macam mana? Jadi when you make niche products, maybe the best they can help is with incentives in terms of exports ke macam tu lah. I think if in the next 10 years, we'll still see lah this cars come out. Because some of them dah committed dah. Some of them they've already committed. The program is already committed. They already spent the money. So maybe sekarang ni, I don't know what stage the RX-9 is, but if they've committed to the model, if they have committed, I don't know. If they have committed to the model, they've signed it off. I don't know if they've signed it off or not. Maybe they're just at the concept level. Maybe they've already come to the prototype level. Kalau dah sampai prototype level, probably dah sign off lah kan. So dah nak sign off lah. Or maybe prototype pun boleh kill lagi. Some cars prototype level pun boleh kill lagi. Especially kalau kereta high performance, low volume. Because transition daripada prototype pergi manufacturing tu yang mahal. So even at the prototype level, masih boleh bunuh lagi kereta tu. So kita tak tahu. Saya nak cakap pun saya tak berani. So this is something yang internal lah. So Mugen kata rotary stop easy. Tuan Azli. Sama lah kita. Saya abang, tak tahulah. Saya memang. Tapi jangan lupa kumpul kereta ICE tau. Ada hak lah ni is terbaik. Kereta yang ICE yang ada lah ni yang terbaik. So kalau ada kawan yang nak beli ICE tu kan, dan dia beli kereta best kan, hampa kecek dah. Nanti dia nak jual second, dia ambil, simpan. Nak kena simpan juga tu. Hexa M, bila bang producer sini nak go EV? Charging issue macam mana? Depan nak counter. Charging issue, dia sama macam kedai minyak lah. Sebenarnya benda tu lubuk duit. Cuma early investment ni macam mana nak recover balik. So, bila government bagi 2,500 tax break, tax rebate tu, that's a very powerful tool sebenarnya. Kalau you tengok video kita semalam, episode 34, kita run some numbers lah. Sorry, bukan semalam, kemarin. We ran some numbers to show berapa charging port kita boleh bina, gunakan duit tu saja. If we do it right lah. And itu kita assume charger yang cost dia 100,000. That means charger yang at least 80 kilowatt ke 100 kilowatt lah. Bukan yang kecil-kecilnya charger lah. So 80 to 100 kilowatt punya charger, which will give us pretty decent lah. Nak kata laju tak. Decent. This is like macam when the US started building electrify America, dia punya charger tu about 80 to 100 kilowatts. Macam tu lah. And for them, dia orang kena faster sebab negara dia yang besar. So kita negeri tak besar sangat. So kita bawa sampai ke tapak tu baru 200 km. Kan? Kalau kereta ada 400 km range, bateri ada 50% lagi. Kalau nak top up pergi 80 tu 15 minit tak tentu rasanya. At that rate lah. Kan? So, tadi review Aura Black Cat, kalau full charging berapa RM kalau dari kosong. Dia punya bateri 33 kW. So, kalau you nak tahu berapa, you buka, saya tak kira lagi lah. Bukan saya tak nak jawab, tapi saya tak ingat harga elektrik. Katalah harga elektrik rumah ni sekarang 45 sen untuk 1 kilowatt. Kali 33 tu. So, tak sampai RM15 lah. Full charge. Kalau you dekat band 45 sen lah. Saya tak tahu band berapa lah. You tengok band dia berapa, you kali dengan 33 kilowatt tu. Itu bateri dia. Black Cat tak sampai 33 kilowatt pun. Saya tak pasti Black Cat punya bateri capacity berapa. So you kalikan aja lah dengan you punya rate tu. Kalau kata Black Cat tu, tak tahulah, 25 ke kilowatt bateri dia. 25 kalau daripada kosong lah. Jarang daripada kosong. Katalah daripada 20 sampai ke 80 lah. That means 60% lah. 25 times 6 is 15 kilowatt. Kali dengan 45 sen tu RM7 lebih lah. That's about it lah. Charging dia. Industri kena belajar survive. Jangan mengharapkan payung dari kerajaan. Industri has been reset. Ambil kesempatan ni. Betul. Ni dah reset punya time. Government tak boleh nak protect. Dia buat macam mana pun dia tak boleh protect. Pasal saya cakap tadi, ni air naik. Kalau you anchor your ship, and ship you tak boleh bergerak, tak boleh adapt, ship tu akan tenggelam. So, air tengah naik. So, you kena lepaskan anchor you. You tak boleh lagi hold your position. You kena find a new position. Itu je. Nak balap babakan, may the best company win. Yes, the market is merciless. Saya setuju lah balap babakan. Memang yang ni, umpama sangat tepat. Thank you Tuan Azli. Kalau kenderaan ICE saya nak simpan, saya simpan motosikal adventure atau Vulcan 650 untuk kenangan. Tak best juga kalau bawa motor elektrik, lepas ni senyap je. Motor elektrik tetap kau beli. Itulah saya cakap, simpan. Cari yang ICE, motor satu, kereta satu. Kan? Saya pun ada apa kereta saya mau, kan? Motor apa saya mau. Saya nak kereta yang simple lah. I want like something like a Mazda Miata, you know, or Lotus Elise, kan? Kalau motor, about, I don't know lah, maybe dalam 800cc ke 1000 itulah. Kalau 650 pun dah okey dah. Bukan nak buat hari pun kan. 650 tu dah okey lah. Untuk hujung minggu nak layan-layan kan, layan-layan corner sikit ya. Ingat tak? Woi, dapat phone ada 100 number memory tu macam terror phone kau ada 100 number memory kan. Manalah ada lagi benda tu. Tapi itulah teknologi kan. Kan. Motorola Flip ultimately it will go to level 5. And bila level 5, then it's too expensive. Bila dah ada level 5, then the whole business model dah change. So the number of cars that needs to be on the road pun dah kurang. Sebab bila kita dah tak own the cars themselves, maksudnya kita hanya subscribe service je. Dia satu senario yang selalu saya suka cerita ialah bila subscription punya cerita ni, maksudnya let's say lah satu bulan you subscribe to 150 jam of car use. That means satu hari 5 jam. Belum banyak tu. Hari ni you pakai kereta berapa jam? Saya rasa kita on average pakai kereta satu hari 2 jam je. On average. Betul-betul drive tau maksudnya. Hantar anak pergi sekolah berapa lama? 15 minit, 20 minit, setengah jam. Sebenarnya kalau kita tak payah drive, lepas kita drop off anak kita tu, kereta tu dah tak perlu pakai dah. Tapi pasal kita drive, kena balik lah. Atau kita kena pergi pejabat. Kan? So bayangkan katalah pagi kita ambil kereta tu, lepas kita bawa hantar budak, kita pergi pejabat. Katalah setengah jam, hantar budak, jam berbagai ni lagi setengah jam nak pergi office kita sejam. Habis dah. Lepas tu budak-budak nak balik sekarang, kalau kita tak ada bas sekolah punya servis ambil, kita nak kena keluar, ambil dia balik, makan lagi sejam. Kalau tak ada, budak tu boleh ambil the car service yang kita provide kat dia tu, kereta tu datang, dia tahu tu kereta dia naik setengah jam sampai rumah. Kita tak ada driver, robotized cars. So in total sebenarnya kita pakai kereta tu 2 maybe 3 jam maksimum sehari. So actually we can get away with 100 hours of car use a month. But let's say lah mewah sikit ambil 150 jam of car use. Then you don't own the car anymore. So you don't care already. So the car now, kita jangan tengok bilangan kereta tau. Apa yang kita kena tengok ialah miles driven. So kalau katalah sekarang ni, kita ada about 2 billion cars on the road in the world. Kalau 2 billion cars, kalau kita pukul rata satu kereta bergerak 20,000 km, that means kita ada 40 trillion kilometer driven every year. 40 trillion kilometers from 2 billion cars. Kan? And that car is only moving for 2 hours a day maybe. Imagine if that same car dia boleh pergi serve orang lain, berkongsi-kongsi, dia boleh gerak 6 jam sehari. Out of 24 hours lah, 6 jam je dia berjalan. That means that now, instead of 2 million cars, we only need 700 million cars to achieve the same miles driven. And that, kenapa kita cerita miles driven? Kerana that indicates that everybody will still have the same freedom of mobility, but less resources being used. Kereta yang duduk kat parking lot tu semua ialah pembaziran. Every time you masuk shopping center, you nampak shopping center tu penuh dengan kereta, setiap kereta tu ialah pembaziran tengah duduk kat situ. Besi dah korek dah. Kan? Bumi dah lohong dah, terbuka dah ni, nak korek besi tadi tu. Kan? Aluminium dah korek, pecah dah, bumi dah korek dah ni. Plastik, minyak semua dah korek ni, nak buat plastik, nak buat apa semua. Dah jahanam dah ni benda ni, bumi dah jahanam dah nak buat benda tu. Kalau dia duduk je kat situ. Membazir, kan? Pembaziran. Imagine benda tu tak berlaku dah. Parking lot semua jadi kosong. Kereta berjalan je dia pergi ambil orang. So there's so many. Bila kita tak payah bayar untuk 24 hours of use, you only paying for hours of use, that means kita punya, katalah lah ni hang nak pakai kereta macam Mercedes kan. Bayar sebulan 7-8 ribu. Pakai Proton bayar 1,000 lebih. 700, 800 ke 1,000 ke. Pakai Honda 2,000 lebih kena bayar ke sebulan. But imagine you don't have to pay that. You only need to pay half of that or quarter of that. Pasal the car is not yours anymore. And the car you can share. So the company yang provide the service tu, dia boleh make it cheaper for us. That's what it means. You need to have less cars to achieve the same number of miles driven. But saya rasa as we move forward, it'll become cheaper lah. So I rasa, but there's like a macam sort of like a sweet spot lah. Kita tak boleh tunggu lama sangat nak dapat teknologi yang lebih murah. We have to start somewhere first, so that at least kita ada pemahaman pasaran, nak develop understanding of kereta tu, macam mana kita nak develop for the future. So kita nak start fairly early, and then from there on kita boleh go ahead lah and decide new technology ke apa ke, pasal benda tu akan bergerak dengan cepat lah. So I think the factory of the future also kena something that is more flexible lah. Macam mana saya tak tahu lah, because saya bukan manufacturing punya expert, but it has to be more flexible lah. But I think this one will come down to macam the whole architecture of the car. Macam mana? Pasal kalau kita tengok komputer punya lah, architecture komputer. Dulu masa awal-awal, mungkin tak ada orang buat specific graphic card. Tak ada orang buat specific benda-benda lain. Memory card, memory chip semua kan. Very small memory kita pakai. There's no proper graphic interface. Tak ada Ethernet card. Tak ada. Semua ni mungkin kena build onto the motherboard. But now as the technology progress, the way that the motherboard is designed ataupun dah berbeza. Because you dah tahu dah banyak komponen ni you boleh beli daripada luar. Therefore, macam mana cara you nak design your factory pun you akan ubah lah ikut minda you, ikut pemahaman teknologi terkini. Kita nak cakap susah, tapi saya rasa in the future it will become cheaper, but you still have to come in at the sweet spot lah. Kalau tidak nanti orang lain akan take over your market. Saya rasa ni akan paling murah lah. Humaydi, macam quantum computing versus classic computing. Exactly lah. I mean, in terms of theory, you're right. Kita belum tengok lagi a proper working quantum computing, but you're right lah. Once you move to quantum computing, then the speed will be so fantastic that whatever that we have now is going to look like walking pace lah. Dulu Netflix jual DVD, sekarang buat subscription, jual dalam apps online. Exactly. So sekarang ni tengok for entertainment saya ada Netflix, for macam documentary saya ada Curiosity Stream, or you can boleh ambil Brilliant, macam-macam ada servis. Untuk kartun ada orang lain buat, untuk all TV shows there are people who do streaming, just benda tu je. So it becomes more efficient in that sense, you know. So you hanya bayar, katalah you teringin nak tengok TV show lama-lama, and it's only on that channel. But you bukan nak tengok TV show lama-lama tu all the time. So maybe you rasa in the next 1 month I nak catch up balik some of my favorite TV show. So I subscribe for 1 month of whatever lah channel yang ada semua TV cerita lama-lama. Habis tu stop, tak payah dah. pakai yang biasa kita lah, whatever you pakai lah, you pakai Disney ke, you pakai Netflix ke, you pakai Amazon Prime ke, or you pakai Astro ke, I don't know, but that's how it can be lah, macam semua kita boleh customize. Kan, DVD betul Blu-ray, lepas Blu-ray lah orang tak mau, apa orang tak mau. Jual DVD pun tak boleh nak jual dah, bagi murah pun orang tak mau. Bagi free pun orang tak mau ambil dah DVD lah ni. Blu-ray ke, apa mak nenek Ray ke. Because no point. You just watch it online. Ya, betul lah. Jangan, we cannot underestimate the importance of capital lah for investment. So when you have capital to invest in new technology, then of course you will have an advantage. That's why the US and Europe, especially US lah, is so ahead, because Japan also, China, ada banyak capital that can invest in new technology. And basic research is so important. So important. But basic research is so long term. It's so expensive, but so long term. Things basic research is macam CERN lah, CERN kan. Itu basic research tu. Cost berapa puluh bilion nak pasang the particle accelerator tu. Nak buat apa pasal tentang accelerator tu, ambil bawah. Nak belajar about the origin of the universe, why? Who cares? Important. Quantum computing, banyak benda dia belajar dari situ juga. Understand quantum physics and whatnot. Nak beli apa, beli. Muhammad Taslim tak faham ke saya cerita tadi pasal apa? Tak faham konsep yang saya tengah ceritakan tu. Kalau Muhammad Taslim tak faham, tanya saya balik, nanti saya cerita balik. Kenapa saya sebut McLaren, kenapa saya sebut Toyota? Lepas tu different segment. They have different survivability rate. They can have different approach. Different technology yang dia boleh pakai relevant to the market. Macam Rolex. Rolex buat jam. Raymond Weil buat jam. IWC buat jam. Ni semua mechanical watches. Patek Philippe. Audemars Piguet. Semua buat jam. Bell & Ross. Semua mechanical watches. Tapi berbeza dengan kita beli Casio Quartz. Seiko Quartz. Kita beli Oris Quartz. Kita beli Tissot Quartz. Kita tak beli yang mechanical. Kebanyakan kita pasal mahal. So it's a different story. McLaren boleh buat kereta ICE. Tapi Toyota boleh buat kereta ICE hanya yang sports. Untuk masa depan. Ini pendapat saya. Tak setuju pun tak ada masalah. No problem, brother. It's a free country. Tapi Malaysia belum gazette lagi kan. Tuan tahun bila untuk negara menolak atau melarang penyelenggaraan kereta komersial. Saya rasa tak ada perlu kita lakukan itu. Saya rasa, well, they might set at 2035, kata for example 2040. Pasal most of European countries 2035, kata silap saya lah. Some kata 2025. Macam Norway nak 2025. Norway katalah. But katanya by next year bulan 4 dah tak ada dah kereta ICE yang orang nak beli di Norway. So Europe ada yang 2035. Kita mungkin 2035 atau 2040, katalah kita say 2040 atau 2035. Mungkin lah, but sekarang belum sebut lagi benda tu. But I rasa tak akan perlu sebut. Dia akan mati sendiri. ICE ini akan mati sendiri. Pasal, like I said, it is a shift in technology. Mak Taslim, memang you ada masalah nak have a wide-ranging conversation ke macam mana? Kita nak explain something using another analogy. You faham analogy ke tidak? Kalau you tak faham analogy, tanya. Nanti saya cerita pelan-pelan. Kenapa saya sebut pasal washing machine? Washing machine is a white goods. White goods ni kita tak ada feel. Bila kita tak ada feel, there's no emotional attachment. So bila kereta ni transition kepada electronics dan dia jadi self-driving, dan kita dah tak ada emotional attachment kat kereta tu. Therefore, it becomes like a white goods. Itu yang saya nak cakap. Fahaman tu lah. When there ada emotional attachment, you don't care the shape of the car. Pasal sebagai contohnya, you pernah kan naik taksi, you rasa, aku nak naik taksi kereta ni je. Kau tak kisah, you tahan lah naik kereta tu Proton ke, Pro 2 ke, Hyundai ke, Kia ke, you ada kisah ke? You tak kisah kan? Why? Because there's no emotional attachment. It's not your car. You just want to use it as a utility, pure utility from getting to point A to point B. That's what I'm trying to say. Muhammad Taslim? Kalau Muhammad Taslim tak faham, tak apa. It's okay. Tak apalah Muhammad Taslim, kalau you rasa confused cara saya cakap, tak payah masuk lagi lah. Tak payah masuk lagi. Memang saya suka sembang tu. Saya merata-rata pergi. Saya try to pull many different things to my discussion. Kalau you find it difficult to understand, it's okay. I'm okay. Kalau you nak tanya, tanyalah. Kalau memang kita cerita macam-macam, nak tunjuk different aspects of the discussion, different aspects of the technology, different aspects of market, and how people behave, macam-macam. Mungkin confusing lah, mungkin saya tak pandai cakap. You tak sesuai, it's okay, I'm okay with it. Yes, teknologi akan jadi murah. Ya. Ini betul lah. Kebergantungan kita kepada bahan api ini. Macam mana tu kita tak faham. Sahabat tu masih lagi sesuatu yang kita gunakan untuk masak lah. Sama ada kita terus gunakan gas ataupun kita akan guna elektrik sepenuhnya masa depan, saya tak tahu. Tapi saya rasa bahan petroleum tu macam-macam jugalah kegunaan lain mungkin yang kita boleh bangunkan lah. Sebagai bahan api mungkin masih lagi useful untuk maybe isolated communities or exploration work, you know. For example, let's say kita nak travel pergi somewhere yang secluded for exploration, susah nak bawa mungkin petroleum or petrol and diesel is still the most easy way. Itulah. Hydrogen fuel cell, okay, hydrogen ni cerita dia, I think once they crack green hydrogen then it'll work. Masalah hydrogen ni, it doesn't exist in elemental form dengan banyak. So dia exist banyak dalam air, dalam hydrides, dalam macam-macam lagi lah benda lain. So dia tak exist in elemental form. Untuk nak pecahkan tu dia ada macam menggunakan tenaga agak banyak sikit lah. So yang itu yang menjadikan masalah. So tapi fuel cell tu is a useful tool for generating electricity as long as you can find hydrogen. So untuk exploration work, it still is interesting. Because let's say lah you nak pergi tempat yang banat kan. Kat bumi kita, planet bumi lah. Hydrogen rata-rata banyak kan. Tapi you need to split it. Kalau you nak hasilkan elektrik, you boleh bawa enjin petrol, genset, ataupun you boleh directly generate electricity guna fuel cell. So, still ada kegunaan dia. Cuma hydrogen tu cerita dia. It's not the fuel cell punya problem tau. It's the hydrogen punya problem. Yes, solar pun dropping very fast. So kita tengoklah ke mana pergi. Tapi I think solar is going to be a very important feature lah in the world. Market merciless. Bila bab keperluan ni tak ada dah patriotic. Good value equals better market. Exactly. Daim Samsudin. Berapa harga mampu milik IKA yang boleh laku keras? Kat Malaysia ni, I think the common understanding is kalau kereta tu bawah 50,000, memang mampu keras. Ramai orang mampu milik lah. So akan laku keras. Ini semua bergantung kepada senang je salary lah. kita punya salary banyak kat mana. Kita punya salary kat Malaysia ni banyak rendah lagi. We can go into a separate discussion as to why our salary is low. Ni dan kita masuk discussion tentang masalah-masalah inequality ataupun imbalance in the economic system. Aning Azmi, apa minta pendapat abang pada komen CEO Toyota yang kata EV overhype dan lebih prefer hybrid banding full plug EV. So Toyota punya CEO, obviously dia kena defend dia punya teknologi lah. Because they've invested a lot of money. So macam saya cakap tadi, aset terkandas. So kalau you captain kapal lah, dan you tengok ataupun you captain industri dan you tengok future benda tu nak berubah. Benda investment yang you buat mungkin tak habis recover lagi. Kan? So dia nak try habiskan recovery tu dulu. I rasa lah. Because dia bukan tak ada teknologi elektrik ni, cuma dia macam dia nak habiskan dulu pelaburan ni, macam nak recoup pelaburan ni dulu. So once dia habis recoup pelaburan tu, dia boleh move forward. Tapi to me, I rasa whether it's a mistake or not for Toyota, kita nak cakap tak berani pasal kita bukan pakar. Toyota dah beribu-ribu pakar kat dalam tu. Dia tengok pasaran macam-macam dia tengok. So kita rasa kata the EV is coming. Toyota will eventually get on board, but it's up to them to decide how fast they want to move in. And if they judge it wrong, nobody will cry for them. Itu je. Because macam saya cakap saya kalau kamera saya dulu keen photographer Dulu saya pakai Nikon. Nak ajak bergaduh boleh ni dengan orang kanan. Bila masuk zaman digital, I have to move to Canon. Sebab Nikon simply tak ada produk yang I nak. I needed something that has good video capability and good focus tracking. And Nikon tak ada. So I moved to Canon. Lepas tu aja totok Canon. But then I realized Sony has a much better product in terms of video. I ditched Canon, I pergi ke Sony. And now kalau apa-apa jadi dekat Canon ke Nikon ke, I feel sad. No, I don't feel sad. Sony pun mati pun saya tak feel sad. What I want is a camera. The brand tak kisah pun. What is it fit my need? Not okay. The model e-car yang akan masuk ke Malaysia. Kia EV6, Hyundai Ioniq 5, Tesla Model 3, Model Y semua akan masuk . Vision EV, Abang Samsul punya take dengan Aura, hot or cold? I think the good cat can be hot. It depends on the price. But the good cat tadi bila I pergi test kata tu, saya memang nak cakap macam mana, it's hard to find fault with the car. But obviously it depends on the price lah. You know, if the price is too high, it'll still find buyers, but it's just that the numbers won't be so big lah. Let's say like they set the pricing to like above 100,000, 120 to 150 lah. Let's say lah macam kat Thailand lebih kurang. Let's say like 100 to 140,000. So that sits in the top B segment sampai C segment. Adalah C segment yang pricing. So then the pricing is C segment Japanese, Korean lah. So then the volume ni macam tu which is not still small, still significant. But it's not proper mass market volume, which is kat Malaysia ni segment B and below kan. So you need to price it at segment B or below. Vios or below punya prices, then the volume will be like that. But the car punya quality bila you duduk dalam tu, I think kalau you tengok all the review right now from Europe, from UK especially, which I believe are all Thai-made cars lah. All the cars yang kat UK semua made in Thailand, which is right-hand drive . And I believe bila you tengok yang macam tu, dia tengok dia punya review, they all are very impressed with the interior quality. And I tell you, bila I masuk tadi, I was impressed with the quality of the interior. The material used, the color, the textures, memang feels premium. So that's why bila kita tengok harga dia dekat China, dengan harga dia dekat Thailand, berbeza. Berbeza banyak jugalah. And I believe this because they realize they can sell the car at a premium, so that's what they're doing. So whether that's a mistake or not, I tak tahulah. But kalau kat Thailand, within 48 hours you get 6,000 orders, then I guess they don't think it's a mistake lah. So let's say they bring it at a similar price and they're getting that same volume, then, you know, of course, kita punya population kecil lah dengan Thailand. So maybe they won't get 6,000 orders in 48 hours. But still, if you're getting like maybe, I don't know, even if you're getting 1,000 orders in 48 hours, it's going to be, I mean, a big thing lah for auto kan. Betul, banyak syarikat kereta on the crossroad. And next year is the panic button year. Kalau next year, sales of EV meningkat, as it has been doing. Even Volkswagen is reporting dia punya EV sales double, dia punya ICE sales mengecil. BMW yang kata tak nak pun is showing that dia punya EV sales double and dia punya ICE sales mengecil. Of course, they say it's because of chip shortage. And of course, you can also argue that because the EV volumes are small, the doubling is a small number, and therefore that's why tak boleh nak kata kalau chip shortage kenapa tak, because it's just small numbers. So memang still, but again, still it's doubling. So if that trend continues into next year, and global EV sales break into nearly 5 to 10%, duduk kata 7-8% next year. Well, 7 to 8% means you're selling 20 million. 7 million. Katalah kan, by 2025 you're doing 7 million cars EV, 7 to 10 million. Then you know that this is going to be it lah. So that's one of the features yang kalau kita tengok Hyundai Ioniq 5, itu yang dia tunjukkan macam mana nak buat tu kan. And in fact kalau Tesla dia ada camping mode, camp mode. Hari tu saya bawa balik Abang Vision EV punya Tesla Model 3. Saya duduk, saya tengok ada camping mode tu, saya tekan lah, saya main tu. Lepas tu saya terlupa. Saya keluar rumah, saya kunci kereta. Camping mode. Aircon jalan lah sepanjang malam. Mampu esok pagi tu. Depleted banyak jugalah dia punya bateri tu. So memang boleh buat. Dia memang dah design kereta tu siap ada camping mode. Dia boleh tidur dalam kereta. So it's very nice. Blackbird Hypersonic, macam mana dengan insurans EV versus IC? Ada perubahan tak? EV lagi murah. Saya tak tahu. Insurans is too new. It's too new, I don't know. I can't tell you macam mana what the rates are going to are like right now. Setengah orang cakap, well, as of this year lah. Some people say it's still quite a challenge to find insurance yang faham EV ni pun. But I think soon it will change lah. It's going to be, I don't know. I mean, if it's cheaper to, okay, so sekarang ni we saw one study hari tu that says that accident repairs is more expensive on EVs compared to ICE. But the study also says less accidents happen in EVs than in ICE because there's so many safety features on the EV. Ada auto braking, lane keeping lah, avoidance, macam-macam kind of avoidance, so less accidents happen with EV. So while the cost of repair is higher, less incidents happen. So to the insurance company, kita tak tahu, dia cakap tu, dia tak cerita claims tu macam mana. The total amount of claims value per unit of car, say on average, that they insure. So if the actual claim tu is lower per unit of car because less accidents happen even though the repair bill is higher, then it only makes sense that it becomes cheaper. And Tesla punya insurance, according to those yang pakai kat US, nobody can beat dia orang punya pricing because it's just significantly cheaper. Kenapa? Because Tesla has the data and they know what their car is capable of. And if that is the truth, and I'm sure it's the truth because Tesla as an insurance company, takkan nak rugi duit kan? Kung Fu Cow 60K. Kalau Proton betul masukkan Kung Fu Cow at 60,000 ringgit, they will conquer the market until Pro 2 boleh hasilkan kereta yang sama. So Pro 2 pun kena fikir lah, macam mana ni? Kalau ura-ura Proton dah start nak buat, dia pun kena buat. And I think Daihatsu will not allow Pro 2 to die because it's a very important cash cow for them. The Malaysian and Indonesian market is a very important cash cow for Daihatsu. So they won't allow it to die lah. So they will have to figure out something. So our policy tahun ini government bagi itu, like I said just now, is the government opening the door as much as possible, giving you as much room as possible to organize yourself for this transition, to make it orderly, right? So it's up to the industry macam mana dia nak buat. So if the industry moves quickly, then everybody else has to, kalau the major players move quickly, then everybody else has to follow. Kalau tidak, mati lah. Itu je cerita dia. Ipan bara, on a high level, why does fuel producing companies should migrate to electrification? How does this help increasing domestic economic surplus? Okay. So, if we are a huge oil exporting country, then I understand the worry. But if we are still an oil exporting country, as in net exporter, then our amount of oil that we export is quite small actually compared to the amount of oil we consume. So while we do export all of our, almost all of our oil, and we buy cheaper oil to use domestically, we are not a huge oil exporter. So if we convert our cars to become ICE, to become EV, then we can still export the same number out, or maybe the demand globally will drop. I tak tahu, it will probably drop. So what it means is that we still have to adapt, because kalau demand for our oil drops and we keep continuing to use ICE cars, then kita kena export. So we become nanti a heavy net importer of oil. We don't want that. The whole market is dynamic. Bukan kita, we're not an isolated market tau, Ipan Baru. Kita bukan isolated, we are a trading nation. So kalau kita export, since we export almost all of our oil and we import cheaper oil to use, and let's say the demand globally drop, kita still nak pakai ICE. So we have to import while we can export less. So in the end of the day, kita kena pakai oil kita lah. It might be cheaper to just use the expensive oil that we have, the nice oil that we make. So if we use that, then we need to figure out a way how to stretch it longer. By using EV, we use less of it, so we can stretch it longer. Kita tengok Norway punya model lah. So Norway is producing a lot less oil than it can produce. Norway is producing a lot less oil than it can produce. On purpose. Dia tak nak produce as much as possible. They cap. Sebab dia nak the oil to last longer. They continue to export their oil, although their country almost all pakai EV sekarang. Syamil Idrin, industri bateri yang bahan mentah banyak di Indonesia, mereka sekarang gigih, betul. Sebab industri mata mereka menguasai dan membangun kilang mereka sendiri supaya mereka tak dapat kawal harga bahan mentah. And this is what they're doing with the Chinese, and this is like the warning sign, the warning bell that Indonesia is giving to the Japanese. Kita kena ingat lah, pasaran kereta di Indonesia hampir 90% dikuasai oleh Jepun, Toyota dengan Honda. And they're not happy that Toyota and Honda tak nak convert pergi EV. Pasal dia nak, for them, they also want to reduce their energy bill. Almost all of our countries subsidize kita punya petrol. We subsidize our fuel, So when we subsidize our fuel, there's a cost. I think itu ada satu report from Australia kata they will save God knows how much, how many billion in terms of subsidies for the oil industry. And you have to remember, oil industry anywhere in the world are quite heavily subsidized in many ways. Nampak dan tak nampak. So that's, it's a savings kat situ, dan actual savings in terms of energy bill yang kita pakai. Just simply because electric cars are more energy efficient. Itu saja. The sheer efficiency of electric drive tak boleh dilawan, tak boleh ditandingi oleh ICE. So we will reduce our energy bill as a whole. That's the thing. Right to repair. Kena fight for this lah, we have to fight for this, right to repair ni. But it becomes moot Okay, this is where saya ni berbelah bagi, but right, bukan in the sense that I don't think we should have. I think we should have right to repair. But let's say when we move forward and senario di mana kebanyakan kereta will be self-driving and we no longer own the cars. Only the very rich will own the cars because they just have money to burn. The rest of us, there's no point where we should own a car. We should just call, kita akan ada subscription service and the cars will come arrive within 5 minutes of us calling for it, or we get it for free. For example lah, macam Domino's buat pelantar lambat free. It's okay. Dalam keadaan macam tu, kita dah tak bukan milik kita dah kereta tu. It belongs to the fleet or whoever is providing the service. At that point in time, it's up to the company dengan the automaker lah to provide that service. And if you believe what Elon Musk and Tesla is planning, dia punya robot cars, robotaxi dia will only be available on the Tesla network, which means the cars will be built and operated by Tesla, their robotaxi service. So you nak gaduh right to repair dengan siapa? Siapa nak gaduh dengan siapa? Kalau Tesla tak nak bagi pun, so what? Kereta tu dia yang operate. And the few rich people who will buy the expensive cars, because kalau you tengok last year punya Elon Musk punya presentation masa autonomy day, battery day. So I can't remember one of those days. Dia cakap, when full self-driving becomes real, the price for the car might double or triple because they don't really want to sell the car to you because they can make more money operating the car as a service. Mobility as a service is what they are looking for. It's what they're aiming for. That is what Toyota is aiming for. Also, kalau you tengok, semua companies is talking about mobility as a service. You tengok, Volkswagen pun sebut benda yang sama, Tesla sebut benda yang sama. Kenapa? Because when they build and operate the cars as a service, it is more profitable. Because you can sell the car to your service company, Toyota atau Tesla atau Volkswagen atau siapa, GM ke, dia buat kereta tu dia tolak lah in terms of accounting dia tolak pergi ke Tesla Transport ataupun Toyota Transport atau GM Transport atau Volkswagen Transport who then operate the car as a service. The margin dekat sini lagi banyak daripada dekat sini. So they'll just operate the whole thing themselves. Dia tak akan jual pun kereta tu dah. And that point in time it becomes like you nak argue apa pasal pun kita pun dah tak tahu dah masa tu. So, as a first step, that's why I cakap kat you, the Malaysian government punya proposal in the 2022 budget is actually quite genius. In the sense that it's difficult for you to convince people to invest in the charging station because the capital expenditure is quite high and there's nothing on the road for you to be able to recover kan. Cost tu pasal car ni, for example, as of this year, there might be 400, 500, at the most 600 electric cars on the road. Kalau you kira lah, congak lah, let's say we congak over the whole year, one car to travel 20,000 kilometers, given energy efficiency of, let's say, 7. That means they probably need what? 3 megawatt of power. Let's say, for example, I don't know, 3 megawatt of power. So for 3 megawatt of power, at 45 sen, 1,500. Maybe like 45 cents. We're assuming 45 cents, 50 sen lah per kilowatt, then it's like 1,500 maybe in electricity. How much of that is nak recover? Susah lah. So the government bagi 2,500 ringgit tax rebate tu. So the tax rebate, those companies yang macam Perkema yang nak buat the charging network and apa-apa OEM lain yang nak buat charging network should then organize themselves into a system that is big enough to attract the subscription to make it to make sense for it to make sense for a customer to subscribe. So that at least bila dia charge kat luar, dia dapat electric free, dia akan balance sendiri lah. Days yang dia nak charge kat rumah, days yang nak charge kat luar, because dia dah dapat subscription charging, dia dah bayar dah, and they're getting the tax breaks. So that way at least they boleh build the network. That's why I say again, the government tak boleh nak mungkin dia tak reti, so dia kata tak nak buat lah, I don't want to think about it, I want you to think about it, so I'm just going to give you these tools, this set of tools, this is the sandbox I want to get, you play with it. I gave you until 2025 to play, to decide and come up with a working plan. So you do that. Anik Azmi. Thank you, Anik. Macam boleh buat. Daim Samsudin. Siapa orang kata sekarang macam pegang saham lah. Start robotaxi saja, jangan ambil duit bulan-bulan. Kalau Texas start jalan, hanya robotaxi. Yalah. But as you can see, the FSD software now is what? $10,000 US, 40 lebih ribu ringgit, no? 42-43 ribu ringgit, no? Software dah. But how expensive it is to develop that thing, dia tak jual murah pun, kata 40,000 ringgit, I'm going to sell it to you. The software, basically the OS of the car. It has everything lah, full feature OS lah kita kata. Bila ada FSD tu full feature OS. So that's why I say, bila dia jadi robotaxi satu, the car will move so much more kan. Kalau you ada robotaxi pun, you akan kata, kaitannya dah aku banyak mahal-mahal, and jalan lah 24 jam. Pandai-pandai lah, mai balik charge kan. Kat rumah boleh charge, kat mana boleh charge. Charge pandai-pandai lah kan. Ang mai balik dia bilang perlu charge, aku charge kat hang tu, ang keluar balik pergi buat kerja. Terus duduk di rumah, jalan. Because the car drives itself. So risk of accident is low, blah 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 blah. So you know, that's what you do. So you pun nampak bahawa you can make more money operating the car as a service. Same thing for Tesla and all that. Rafi Afud. Tuan Gomen dah bagi mereka punya direction. Apa kita tanya spectators dalam ni mereka punya direction pula. Itu tuan buat survey, belum ada direction dari Gomen. Sekarang kita buat ad hoc survey. Okey tak? Boleh tak? Kawan-kawan bagi cadangan sikit soalan-soalan macam mana kita nak include dalam ad hoc survey ni, apa yang kita nak tanya? What's the direction that the survey should take? Hari itu kita buat survey, kita tanya, adakah you sanggup, adakah you sudah, will you buy an electric car? When will you buy an electric car? When will you be ready to buy an electric car? So a lot of people jawab between my next car will be EV ataupun my next car will be EV because I baru beli kereta in the next 5 years. Ada kata in the next 10 years. But basically kalau campurkan next car, next 5 years, next 10 years, more than 80% of people cakap dia nak beli dah. Dan bila kita tanya pula survey apa isu utama, harga dengan infrastruktur, those are the two main issues lah yang menyebabkan orang rasa mungkin tak yakin untuk beli kereta elektrik. So now with this thing coming up, first I dah tanya industri masih lagi seem a little bit unclear macam mana nak proceed dengan infrastruktur. Because it's chicken and egg for them lah. Dia tak nak belanja duit benda tu. So that's why 2 hari lepas kita buat little number crunching, tunjukkan if you just use the government punya 2,500 tax break tu, but you can try nak pujuk government lah, extend that maybe to 2025 or 2030 and use that to help fund. Just we need to get it off the ground. For example, I believe lah, if Perkema punya 1,000 charger network tu is up and running, once it's up and running, then there will be enough cars to come and make use of it. Dan bila dia benda tu dah become profitable, duit akan masuk lah. Because saya yakin benda tu ialah lubuk duit. Semua cerita dah sekarang orang tak nampak lagi. Tesla dah nampak tu sedia belanja. Dia the only one. I think Hyundai also building kat South Korea, but I don't think it's global lah. But Tesla is building a global charging network. Why? Pasal dia punya goal is to transition everybody to sustainable energy. And dia dah nampak this is penting. So maybe ada duit ke apa? Maybe macam tu. Price, range, warranty. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, we will do some kind of survey on that. To own or to subscribe, that's another one. That's interesting. Betul? Pasal anak-anak muda sekarang, ada kawan-kawan anak saya tak ada lesen pun, tak heran pun. Dia dapat 18 tahun, tak ada. Zaman kita dulu 18 kacau mak pak lah. Malaysia. Ayah, abah nak lesen. Pak nak lesen, pak. Pak nak lesen. Dapat je lesen tu dia. Demam, kemaruk, steering. Mereka macam tak heran. Tanya apa siapa? Kena. Grab dah. Grab. Because at the end of the day, getting from point A to point B is the whole point of transport. We just happen to live in a time where we have to drive. We have to drive. Because kita kena drive. Taksi mahal. Bus horror. So kita kena drive. Betul tak? So some of us, like me, develop a love for driving. Many people hate driving. Kan? So, maybe if it's subscription, you tak payah drive. Lagi best. That maybe the future, yeah, right? Interesting. Future EV owner. That's interesting. Group future EV owner. Subscription tu, okay. Rafia Food. Mak PD. Dia punya subscription tu, I don't know whether it will actually take that long. I don't know. Because, okay, bila you tengok, for example, Renault punya subscription model, Renault dengan Nissan the same group dengan Tanchong kan. So, dia punya subscription model is interesting. So, they give you 1 year subscription, you boleh pilih package mana yang nak. Let's say you take yang ada dia punya kereta SUV besar itu apa nama? Okay, so you ambil package SUV itu, you boleh dalam package SUV itu ambil ada Renault Megane RS. So 12 bulan you pakai, you boleh dapat 2 block of 2 weeks of Megane RS. Or if you want, you can have 2 block of 1 month for Megane RS. So 10 bulan you bawa SUV besar, 2 bulan you boleh bawa Megane RS ataupun sebulan you boleh dapat Megane RS. So that's a subscription model. Imagine if ada satu company yang boleh offer kat you 10 different brand under the same system. And you boleh macam mix and match kereta mana you nak pakai. And if you like book early, maksudnya kita dah tahu raya bulan berapa, masa tu kita nak pakai MPV. Lepas tu time kita nak cuti apa benda ke, kita nak pakai MPV. Time-time ni kita pakai kereta kecil-kecil je. Because in reality, most of us only need a B segment car untuk hari-hari punya. Betul tak? Unless you ada anak ramai lah, in which case, you still need a B segment, but MPV, B segment macam Alza, macam Avanza, macam Mitsubishi Expander. But still, it's just a segment B. But bila balik kampung, mungkin you nak segment C. So, in reality, you only ever need kereta kecil je. So, there has to be a system lah. Macam kalau you provide big, kan? Yes, so, yeah, that's right. So, kalau, I think what's interesting is, so, bila I sembang dengan orang yang buat Renault punya, they had this guy who specializes in the numbers for this lah. So, dia kata, they can do it within this thing, because, tak tahulah, dia ada kepakaran dia lah, dia boleh congak-congak, dia kata, this one can make it work. But of course, the numbers are small, and they orang ada a way of how to deal with the cars after habis subscription. So, they orang offer subscription tu, you can subscribe new car, you dapat new car every 2 years under the subscription plan, or you can get a subscription at a lower rate where you're not guaranteed a brand new car. You just get a car that's in near perfect working condition. That means the first tier punya buyer tu dia bayar lebih subscriber bayar lebih sikit, dan second tier bayar kurang sikit. Maybe dia dah macam tu. So there's so many different kind of ways to skin that cat lah. No, I also mean subscription as in robotaxi tu, but that one bila datang kita tak tahulah. Tesla kata 5 years, Waymo kata maybe 5 to 10 years. Dan some people kata, no way Jose lah, 20 tahun, 25 tahun lagi pun mungkin tak jadi lagi. I don't know. For that kind of robotaxi, that depends on technology lah. But once it's available, it will quickly dominate because it will be the cheapest way to provide transport. It will be the cheapest way to provide public transport that we can enjoy as personal transport. The only problem with public transport is apa dia? Masalah paling besar public transport is that it's a public space. But a taxi is public transport that is a personal space. The problem with taxi is it's expensive. And it has to be because orang yang bawa taxi tu nak hidup juga. So when you have a robo taxi, there's nobody driving, then you can provide taxi service, which is a public transport that provides you personal space. Then it's like ideal. That's what we want. We want personal space tu je. The ability to move from point A to point B at any time you want. Public transport kalau ada 24 hours, almost anytime you want. So malam selalunya naik buses, punya timetable every 1 hour or every 2 hours. So then it's not perfect. But you can still use taxi. But taxi pun mahal. Because nak ada surcharge. So all these things semua will kena tengok lah, take into account. Tag with robo taxi, EV or what else, the trans tag should be follow with our road quality. Tak kena road macam kurang. Okay. So this is an interesting question. Okay, Syamsul Idrin. So kalau you tengok interview Sandy Munro dengan Elon Musk. So Sandy Munro cakap kat Elon Musk that the problem that he encountered when using the Tesla FSD software is not that the FSD software gagal, tapi setengah-setengah tempat dia kata road markings are unclear. And some parts the roads are just so bad that it confuses the car. And Sandy did not want to blame the car. Sandy puts the blame on the local authorities. But here's the thing. Apa Elon Musk's response? Elon Musk's response, dia kata, when we're developing the FSD, we want to develop it so that it works on any kind of roads. No excuses. No excuses. Because a human can navigate a road no matter how bad it is. Because that's where general intelligence comes into play. It's not, because general intelligence before driving. So if you approach a road that is really bad, macam kita bawa kereta, when you see a road that's really bad, what do? We just slow down. The walking pace is necessary. So the car should be able to do that. And that's what Elon said. The car should be able to handle any kind of road. No excuses. So that's the thing. If they actually solve it to that level, then it's game over. Game, set, and match. Checkmate. Habis. Okay. Dah pukul 12 lebih dah. Dah 2 jam lebih. Terima kasih kepada kawan-kawan kerana sudi datang sembang dengan saya. And kan butang like kan. Kongsi dan kawan-kawan kalau you rasa this is an interesting topic. And kalau boleh tolong subscribe. Ramai lagi kawan-kawan yang belum subscribe. Dan juga tekan butang loceng supaya bila kita buat naik video baru, you akan dapat notifikasi. Pemandu Malaysia, pemerintah yang berhemah. Kita jumpa lagi esok, insyaAllah. Esok apa? Aizman, insyaAllah. Esok kita ada lagi.